Chapter 3399. Luli didn't leave. He came here from hundreds of millions of miles away. How could he leave without even seeing Lu Xiaobai? Moreover, there were clearly some suspicious points just now. How could it take an hour to send a letter? Lu Xiaobai said he didn't want to see him? Under normal circumstances, if Lu Xiaobai didn't want to see him, it would mean that Luli was lying and that Lu Xiaobai and Lu Xiaobai were not old friends. Since they were not old acquaintances, then the powerful warriors of the City of Mystic Armor would be unhappy with Luli. If Luli were Lord Yu, he would have taken actions. Luli would have been captured and interrogated to see if he was a spy. What was his purpose in pretending to be Lu Xiaobai's old friend? An hour of delivering a letter and then seeing Luli off? Luli didn't get angry. There must be something wrong. Luli guessed. Lu Xiaobai probably didn't read his letter. Therefore, before he met Lu Xiaobai, Luli would not leave. He only went to the Dharma realm after traveling for millions of miles. That was the reason why the most powerful warrior couldn't find Luli. Not even dozens of powerful warriors could find Luli, let alone one. Luli waited patiently for a few days. Making sure that there were not many powerful warriors following him, he sneaked out. He didn't go to the Mystic Armor City. Instead, he went directly to the north. According to the information he got, Lu Xiaobai was fighting with the son of the king of the north. If Lu Xiaobai wanted to go to the battlefield, he would definitely go from the north. Of course, there might be a teleportation altar in the Mystic Armor City that could teleport them to the big cities in the north. In that case, Luli would have to go to the battlefield in the north. Since they had come all the way to the eastern region, how could they retreat so easily? He would never go back without seeing Lu Xiaobai. He went to a small city to the north of the Mystic Armor City. One could enter that city by paying celestial stones. No token was needed. He disguised himself as a demon, and the beast might on his body was very dense. This way, he would not be conspicuous. It was easy for him to inquire about Lu Xiaobai's situation in the city. Of course, he did not dare to inquire about Lu Xiaobai's situation. It was easy to attract the attention of Lu Xiaobai's subordinate. There must be a large number of his subordinates in this city, and there must be a lot of hidden scouts. After waiting in the city for more than 10 days, Luli received some news. There was no need to inquire about this news, because all the martial artists in the city were discussing it. This left Luli speechless. Lu Xiaobai left. It was said that Lu Xiaobai's battle strength had increased tremendously after he came out of seclusion. This time, he swore to beat up the king of the northern region's son. Since the news had spread all over the city, there was no need to question the authenticity of the news. Lu Xiaobai must have left. With Lu Xiaobai's restless personality, it was easy to guess that he would go to the battlefield after coming out of seclusion and becoming much stronger. Luli was troubled. The battlefield was at the junction of the northern region and the eastern region, which was far away from here. Under normal circumstances, it would take Luli more than a year to get there without any problems. The eastern region was in such a mess. Luli almost died when he came here. Now that he had to go to the far north, Luli would have a bigger headache. He looked at the map and finally decided to go to the Ghost God Mountain first. The Ghost God Mountain was in the northwest. He would first send Zishi to the Ghost God Mountain before going to the battlefield in the north. Sigh, Luli sighed. Why did Lord Yu hide the news? He was sure that Lord Yu had never given the letter to Lu Xiaobai. Could it be that Lord Yu didn't want Little White to have anything to do with the previous people? Luli wouldn't take Little White away. He just wanted to make sure if it was Little White. Then he would be at ease. What a pain in the ass. Luli scratched his head in distress. Then he went directly to the magic realm to rest. He had to recharge and build up his strength before he set off. There were no commercial ships at the eastern region. Even if there were, Luli wouldn't dare to take one. After 3 days of rest, Luli set off again. It was not an easy journey. If he were going back, it would be easier for him. However, he was going to the north, which meant that he was getting further and further away from the Milky Way city. Luli let Zishi out and asked her to sense the surroundings. Hearing that they were going to the Ghost God Mountain, Zishi asked with curiosity, "Brother Lu, have you met the person you wanted to see?" "No." Luli said in frustration, "Not yet. He has gone to the north. I will send you to the Ghost God Mountain first, and then I will go to the north to find him." Seeing that Luli was in a bad mood, Zishi comforted him, "Brother Lu, don't worry. When I finish my business at the Ghost God Mountain, I will go to the north with you." "Finished?" Luli frowned and asked, "How long will it take you to get to the Ghost God Mountain? If it is too long, then I can't wait." "I don't know." Zishi shook her head and said, "I don't think it will be too long. I just keep dreaming about this mountain, so I just want to go and have a look. If there is nothing else, I will just take a look and then leave. Even if there is an epiphany, it will be half a month at most. If it is more than half a month, Brother Lu, you can leave by yourself. Don't worry about Zishi." "Okay." Luli nodded and said, "I will wait for you for 3 months. If you still can't get it done in 3 months, then I will have to leave by myself." Luli couldn't wait forever. What if Zishi spent dozens of years on the Ghost God Mountain? Would he have to wait forever? Luli and Zishi were only partners. At most, he liked this little girl, but he couldn't let this little girl interfere with his business. The two hurried on. With Zishi's scouting, Luli was much more relaxed. Along the way, they tried their best to avoid the dangerous places. They stayed away from mountains, rivers, swamps, and abysses. It was safer this way. They ran into some warriors on the way, but Zishi sensed them in advance. Luli would take a detour. If they couldn't, they would hide or enter the Dharma realm. If Zishi was tired, then Luli would use the trace of Tao and take turns to scout. Neither of them would be tired. They walked on easily for more than half a month before they ran into trouble. There were also immortal beasts and ferocious beasts in front of them, which made Luli and Zishi confused. Immortal beasts wouldn't go on a rampage for no reason. They had encountered it once before. With Zishi here, there was nothing to worry about. If Zishi was too tired, Luli would go into the Dharma realm and wait for her to recover before continuing. After more than half a month, they successfully passed through the area of immortal beasts and ferocious beasts. There are fewer powerful warriors at the north, and I didn't run into any old demons. Are they all mobilized to the battlefield at the north? After more than 4 months, Luli found that there were fewer powerful warriors on the way. Even though they had avoided many mountains, swamps and some paradises, under normal circumstances, they would run into many powerful warriors on the way. Luli was happy that there were fewer warriors. He didn't think too much and just kept a low profile. He would rather spend more time than take risk. Whenever he felt it was dangerous, he would go around it. Brother Lu. After another month, Zishi looked at the map and said, "We are not far away now. We will reach the Ghost God Mountain in half a month. It is so peaceful. It is unbelievable." "That is good." Luli exhaled. If they could reach the Ghost God Mountain, then they could reach the battlefield at the north. Even though it took some time, it was okay as long as nothing went wrong. Chapter 3400. The Mountain of Creatures was famous nearby, even in the eastern region. Not every mountain could have this name. This place was also a famous dangerous place at the eastern region. Not even Saint Kings dared to go deep into it. This place was not the graveyard of a famous powerful warrior. Instead, no powerful warriors or old demons were stationed here in history because this place was strange, very strange. Ghosts and gods were uneasy. This was how the Mountain of Creatures got its name. It was said that even ghosts and gods would cry and fall in this place. Some warriors at the absolute completion of the Mountain of Creatures had gone in, but they came out not long after. They left a message that only warriors at the absolute completion of the mountain of creatures should not go in. Otherwise, they would have a nervous breakdown. That's right, a nervous breakdown. It was said that there was a natural formation here that could not be cracked or destroyed. Any living being that went in would be affected. It was not a big deal for them to become crazy. It was normal for their souls to collapse and die. Many ferocious beasts died when they went in. This place became a famous place of evil. Not even ghosts and gods dared to go in. Luli and Zishi didn't know much about the mountain of creatures. They asked around in a small town near the mountain of creatures and got some information about the mountain of creatures. Do you still want to go? Luli looked at Zishi and said seriously, I don't know how strong your soul power is, but it must be dangerous for you to go in since even warriors at the absolute completion of the mountain of creatures can't stand it. Also, are you sure that the mountain in your dream is the mountain of creatures? Luli still couldn't make heads or tails of this. A little girl from one of the 8 galaxies came all the way here just because she saw a mountain in her dream? This mountain was famous for being a dangerous place, which made Luli feel strange. Go, Zishi said resolutely. I will go even if I have to die. I will not be at ease for the rest of my life if I don't go and have a look. As for whether it is the mountain in my dream or not, I will have to go and see for myself. Okay. Luli didn't try to persuade her. He patted Zishi's head and said, Zishi, have a good sleep. When you wake up, we will go. I will wait for you outside for 3 months. Okay. Zishi obediently walked to the bed and fell asleep. Luli, on the other hand, continued to read about the mountain of ghosts and gods. He would definitely not go in there. He was no longer alone. Not to mention the Grim Reaper, Mo Qianqian, Luan Shi, and Yu Yang were all waiting for him to return. Terrifying. Luli read the information carefully. Over the past 10,000 years, more than a dozen warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm had gone in, but none of them came out. This place was too terrifying. If Zishi went in, she might not be able to come out. Sigh, I hope she's blessed by the heavens. Luli could only pray to himself. On second thought, he thought of Zishi's strange ability. Maybe she would not necessarily die if she went in, or maybe she would have some great fortune after she went in. Zishi woke up after 3 days of sleep. Luli took her all the way to the back. After walking for 3 days, they finally saw the mountain that was said to be able to make ghosts and gods cry. The mountain was black, and from afar, it looked like a giant standing in the distance. The entire mountain was shrouded in a faint black fog, and even the sky nearby seemed to darken a bit. Standing at the foot of the mountain, there was a kind of chilly feeling, and it was very uncomfortable. Here it is. Zishi put on a gentle smile. She looked like an elf of the night. The nearby wind was very strong, causing Zishi's hair to flutter in the air. Her eyes were sparkling like the stars. Luli asked with curiosity, Can you feel anything different here? Do you hear something calling? Yes. Zishi's face was flushed. She was very excited. She said, I can feel that the mountain is very excited. It seems to be cheering for my arrival. There is something familiar to me here. It is very possible that there are people of my race here. Ancestors? Luli's eyes flickered. Somehow, he was relieved. Maybe there was a super powerful warrior of the Qinya race buried in the Ghost Mountain. She let her descendants come here to accept the legacy through the connection between their bloodlines? It is possible. The more Luli thought about it, the more likely it was. The Qinya race was an ancient race and a super mysterious one. There were all kinds of strange things in the world. It was normal to call for descendants through the connection between their bloodlines. Brother Lu. Zishi turned around and looked at Luli. Then she bowed and said, Brother Lu, thank you for protecting me along the way. If I die in there, I will repay you in my next life. If I can come out alive, I will follow you for 1,000 years to repay you. Luli smiled. He squatted down and touched Zishi's face. He said seriously, "Zishi, you don't have to be so polite. You have helped me a lot along the way. Without me, you wouldn't have made it to the city of mystic armor so smoothly. So, don't talk about repaying me. I hope you can come out alive, and I am happy to be with you." "Okay." Zishi smiled. Then she turned around and walked towards the ghost mountain slowly. Halfway there, she turned back and smiled sweetly. She waved to Luli and said, "Brother Lu, wait for me. I will find a way out in 3 months." "I will wait for you." Luli nodded. He had thought of waiting for 3 months, but now, he had decided to wait for 5 months. 2 more months was not a big deal. He would just take it as protecting this cute little girl for 2 more months. The night was getting darker. A little girl walked towards the depth of the mountain step by step. She was getting smaller and smaller. There was a strange chi field in the ghost mountain. Psychic power could not reach inside. Luli couldn't even activate the mark of Tao. Luli saw Zishi getting smaller and smaller. Eventually, she disappeared into the depth of the mountain as if she was swallowed by the beast. He stood at the foot of the mountain and waited quietly. He sensed the situation of the ghost mountain. Woo, woo, woo! All of a sudden, a strange sound came from the ghost mountain. It was like ghosts crying and wolves howling. At first, it was soft and then it got louder and louder. Luli's hair stood on end. He even had the urge to rush in. It was as if as soon as Zishi entered the mountain, she had called out all the wandering ghosts in there. The wandering ghosts were rushing towards Zishi, trying to eat her alive. Luli didn't know what to feel when he thought of an elf-like little girl facing such a situation. The howling of ghosts and wolves was getting louder and louder. It could be heard from thousands of miles away. At the same time, dark fog came out from the mountain of supernatural beings and enveloped the entire mountain. Luli could feel a surge of energy coming out from the mountain. It was as if a ghost king was coming out. Even Luli felt a chill down his spine. Luli held a jade talisman tightly in his hand. That was Zishi's jade talisman of life. If the jade talisman was broken, it would mean that Zishi was dead. It was not broken yet. Luli's body was tense. While hiding, he murmured, "Zishi, you must be okay. I am waiting for you to follow me for 1,000 years. Chapter 3401. The abnormality in the mountain of creatures alarmed many warriors nearby. They sent the news back and many forces swarmed over. There would be no abnormality in any place for no reason. Either there was a treasure or there was a demon. Either way, attention must be paid. In just 7 or 8 days, tens of thousands of warriors had come. 7 or 8 powerful warriors that were close to the perfect realm came. However, none of them dared to go in rashly. They just stayed outside and stayed on guard. Luli was hiding in a corner, a warrior of the Emperor realm. There were scouts around, so he looked inconspicuous. None of the warriors paid attention to Luli. Luli didn't dare to go into the mountain of creatures. He had to wait outside in silence. He was anxious, but he didn't show it. The mountain of creatures was completely shrouded by the black mist. The howls of ghosts and wolves were getting louder and louder. The pressure inside was getting more and more horrifying. Many warriors of low realms were trembling with fear. They were afraid that a demon would come out and tear them apart. Half a month. Zishi had been in there for half a month. Somehow, Luli felt relieved because Zishi's jade talisman of life was still intact. Zishi was not very powerful, but she could survive in there for half a month. This was enough to explain many things. Of course, they couldn't rule out the possibility that Zishi had been captured by the peerless, ferocious creature inside. That ferocious creature didn't immediately eat Zishi but imprisoned her. Perhaps it was slowly absorbing Zishi's body? That is possible. Luli became nervous on the thought of this. Maybe the Qianya race had some strange powers and there was a ferocious monster in the mountain of ghosts. Maybe the Chinya race used some strange means to lure the Chinya race warriors here and then devoured them? Either way, Luli didn't dare to go in. He had a strong feeling that even a warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm would not survive, let alone him. More and more warriors gathered around. There were more than 100,000 of them. The black mist of the mountain of creatures had covered an area with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Luli and the others were forced to step back for fear that they would be swallowed up by the black mist. Some big clans had already sent scouts in to investigate. Those powerhouses didn't dare to go in, but it didn't matter if they sent some low-level martial artists in. If they died, they died. What if they could find useful information? In the end, these forces were very disappointed. After all the cultivators went in, not a single one came out. There was no news of them either. It was as if they had disappeared after going in. No one knew if they were alive or dead. 1 month later, something strange happened again. The black mist that shrouded the Ghost God Mountain suddenly surged. The black mist condensed in the air and turned into a human figure. It was the figure of a woman. Huh! Luli glanced over and was shocked. He could vaguely see Zishi's appearance in the woman's shadow. It was more like a larger Zishi, a Zishi magnified countless times. The black shadow danced gracefully in the air, like a fairy in the night sky, full of a strange aura. Moreover, this figure had an inexplicable magic power that seemed to be able to suck in people's souls. No, Luli suddenly came back to his senses. He felt his soul energy was disappearing. He closed his eyes at once and used the trace of Tao to check. He found that his soul energy was disappearing. There seemed to be some invisible threads in the air that were pulling the souls of the warriors and absorbing their soul energy silently. Retreat, all of you! Retreat now, or our souls will be sucked dry. Retreat. There is something wrong with this shadow. Run. Several angry shouts came from all directions. They were the shouts of warriors that were close to the absolute completion. Many warriors came back to their senses and tried to retreat. However, at this moment, all the warriors, including the warriors that were close to the absolute completion, could not move. What is going on? Damn it! Why is this happening? We are going to die. We are going to die. Many people shouted and cried out in alarm. Even the warriors that were close to the absolute completion could not move. This was so strange that it could not be explained with common sense. What is going on? Many warriors turned pale with fright. Their eyes were filled with fear. At the moment, there were 170,000 or 180,000 warriors nearby. There were 8 warriors that were close to the absolute completion and countless saint kings. None of them could move. They could only watch as their soul energy was being drained away. Why is this happening? This was the question on the minds of all the warriors. They were tens of thousands of miles away. Just because there was a shadow made of black air in the air, all the warriors could not move? Was that shadow a warrior at the absolute completion? Luli could not move either. This was the strangest thing he had ever seen in his life. There were more than 100,000 warriors. More importantly, there were warriors that were close to the absolute completion. What kind of powerful strength was this? It was estimated that only powerhouses at the Great Perfection Realm could achieve this. She had become a warrior at the absolute completion? Luli would not believe this. A warrior at the initial stage of the Emperor Realm could become a warrior at the absolute completion after a month in the mountain of supernatural beings? Not even a child would believe this, let alone Luli. Whatever. Luli did not want to think too much. At this rate, his soul energy would be drained as well. With an idea, he vanished into the air and entered the realm of Dharma. The realm of Dharma was miraculous. Warriors close to the absolute completion could not move, but Luli could. When he came in, he was relieved to find that his soul energy was not drained away. He activated the marks of the Great Tao to sense the situation outside. Countless martial artists outside were panicking and began to think of ways to escape. Many martial artists released secret techniques, some struggled with all their might, and some yelled and screamed. None could get away. There seemed to be an invisible force field. It was more like an immortal had released his might to suppress the mortals. No matter how the warriors struggled or what skills they used, they could not move. They could not even move for dozens of feet. The best they could do was to open their mouths and scream. 1 hour, 2 hours, 6 hours. Luli had been checking for 6 hours. He felt he had fallen into hell. He watched as countless warriors' soul energy was sucked away. Gradually, their screams became softer and softer. In the end, their souls collapsed. Before they died, their faces were twisted and their eyes were wide open, filled with fear. In merely 6 hours, more than half of the 100,000 warriors had died. The ones that survived were weak. Not many of them could still scream. This place had turned into hell. What Luli sensed made his hair stand on end. The 8 who were infinitely close to the consummate level were all panicking. Even though they had already used special methods to send a message back to the powerhouses of their clans to think of a solution, they had an inexplicable feeling that perhaps none of them would be able to escape, and that they would all die here. In the air, that slim figure was still dancing. It was still nighttime. Coupled with the scene, it was particularly creepy. Chapter 3402. The unusual movements of Mount Ghost God caused the surrounding area to tremble. All the nearby great forces and great clans and old devils received the message for help, and countless powerhouses rushed here, including 3 great consummate powerhouses. However, something that shocked countless experts happened. A black barrier of light appeared outside the mountain, and this barrier contained a kind of invisible magic power. Even Paragon-level experts were unable to enter it. This wasn't the light barrier of divine patterns, but a special kind of power, the power of heaven and earth. This was a powerful barrier formed by the power of heaven and earth. 3 Paragon-level experts might be able to break it, but they would need time, at least half a month. Many experts who were infinitely close to the Paragon level began to attack, releasing all kinds of fierce attack. Those 3 Paragon-level experts didn't make a move, but they also began to observe the situation of the light barrier, and secretly used their methods to break it. Dozens of experts infinitely close to the Paragon level and thousands of Saint Emperors began to attack, and the color of the light barrier gradually faded. Even if the Paragon-level experts didn't attack, this light barrier would probably disappear in a month at most. Half a month later, a Paragon-level expert couldn't help but make a move. He walked out of the void, but only a shadow of his body could be seen. He placed one hand on the outside of the light barrier, and then the light barrier fluctuated violently like water ripples. At this moment, the number of martial artists gathered in the surroundings had reached over 1 million. Countless martial artists from the nearby forces of all sizes had come, and they all looked at that Paragon-level expert. Their hearts were filled with anticipation, but also a little uneasy. What exactly happened here? Why were there so many requests for help? Why was the light barrier here so powerful? Could it be that there was a Paragon-level expert inside? In just half a day, the light barrier suddenly trembled violently, and then it disappeared without a trace. The scene inside also appeared in front of the martial artists. Countless divine senses swept over, but their souls trembled violently. Hell! The shocking scene didn't make the martial artists outside angry, but they felt horrified. More than 100,000 martial artists inside had all died, and not a single one was left. Those 8 experts infinitely close to the Paragon level had also died. Their faces were twisted, and their eyes were wide open. There was even fear in their eyes, as if they had seen the most terrifying scene in the world before they died. Experts infinitely close to the Paragon level, How stable were their mental states and Tao hearts? Death was nothing to them, but they actually revealed such expressions before they died? What exactly had they experienced? What did he see? What surprised the martial artists outside the most was that this group of powerhouses didn't resist at all. There were no signs of a large-scale battle nearby, and none of the martial artists had any wounds on their bodies. They just felt like they had died inexplicably. Their souls have completely collapsed. A Saint Emperor cried out in alarm. Not only this Saint Emperor, but many other Saint Emperors and experts who were infinitely close to the Paragon realm had also sensed it. More than 100,000 martial artists had died because their souls had collapsed. Their souls have dried up and their soul power has been sucked dry. Another powerhouse cried out in alarm. In fact, many powerhouses had also discovered this point. More than 1 million martial artists outside looked at each other in shock. Could it be that there is a great perfection old devil here, sucking the souls of all the martial artists? Perhaps there's a peerless monster? A ghost that absorbs souls? Ghost God Mountain, there are gods and ghosts here. There must be a ghost king here. Now that the ghost king has appeared, the entire immortal realms will be thrown into chaos. A supreme ghost king wreaks havoc under the heavens. Is the immortal realms going to be the same as the fourth heavenly layer in the past? If this is really the case, then is there any place in the entire great world that is safe? Countless discussions sounded in the surroundings. Many martial artists revealed panic in their eyes. Especially when the matter of the Ghost King was mentioned, it made many martial artists even more terrified. The most important thing was that the world above the fourth heavenly layer had collapsed inexplicably. Many martial artists naturally felt uneasy when they thought of this. Don't spread rumors. A cold voice sounded directly in the ears of all the martial artists. This voice had an inexplicable magical power that calmed the hearts of all the martial artists. The voice continued, "It's nothing more than some demons and monsters causing trouble. All of you retreat 1,000,000 miles and seal off the surroundings. The three of us will go explore and kill the demons and monsters inside." Yes, countless martial artists shouted. A great perfection old devil had spoken, and all the martial artists inexplicably became confident. That's right, there were 3 great perfection old devil here. Even if there was a great perfection old devil inside the Ghost God Mountain, so what? The 3 great perfection old devils here could easily kill him. The main force began to retreat. Of course, some martial artists were organized to go in and take away the bones. When the bones were taken away, nothing happened inside. The black haze that covered an area of tens of thousands of miles had shrunk as well. It only covered the Ghost God Mountain. The bodies were put into the interspatial rings. Soon, the main force began to retreat. They dared not to disobey the orders of the great perfection old devils. They also believed that the 3 great perfection old devils could kill the demons. They dared not to linger around. When the great perfection old devils fought, the repercussions could kill all the martial artists. After all the soldiers and martial artists retreated, the 3 full-circle experts looked at each other and communicated with each other through voice transmissions. Then, the 3 experts walked into the Spirit God Mountain. Phew, when the 3 powerful warriors disappeared into the mountain of supernatural beings, Luli, who was in the Dharma realm, breathed in relief. He had thought that the 3 could find him. It seemed that not even the great perfection old devils could find him in the Dharma realm. All the martial artists were dead except for him. If he was found by a great perfection old devil, he would be taken down and interrogated for information. After exhaling, Luli felt uneasy. He wondered if the situation was caused by Zishi. Now that 3 great perfection old devils had gone in, would Zishi be okay? Forget it. Luli shook his head. It was too dangerous here. He could not stay here any longer. If the situation was caused by Zishi, then Zishi was a demon. Naturally, Luli would not care about her life or death. He had his own principles. He would not kill like this, nor would he absorb the souls of martial artists to nourish himself. If it were not for Zishi, the three great perfection old devils would not vent their anger on a little girl. Therefore, Luli just let it be. His abilities were limited. He had better leave the vicinity first. He could die here if he was not careful. Luli dashed out and snuck in carefully. After 300,000 miles, he noticed that there were martial artists blocking off the way. But the blockade was not strict. More warriors and powerful warriors were gathered together to discuss the strange force that had happened. Luli snuck away quietly. After 300,000 miles in one breath, he finally showed himself with relief. He stood on the peak of a small mountain and gazed in the direction of the ghost god mountain. After an hour, he sighed and said, "Zishi, I have been waiting for you here for 4 months. If you do not come out in 4 months, then I will have to leave. I hope you can come out safely, and I hope you are still the same you." Chapter 3403. Such a strange thing happening on Mount Ghost God quickly spread throughout the eastern region at a terrifying speed. It was said that even the king of the eastern region was alarmed. After all, this was too strange. More than 100,000 martial artists and 8 experts, who were infinitely close to great perfection, had their souls sucked dry and died. Moreover, it happened outside Mount Ghost God. This mountain was already very strange, and now the news had spread without end. Countless scouts from the great clans rushed towards the Ghost God Mountain. There were 3 great perfection realm experts entering the Ghost God Mountain, but there was not much of a commotion. Some scouts probed from afar and found that it was very quiet over there. There were no fluctuations of battle. What's going on? Many scouts were puzzled. Logically, 3 great perfection experts entering should at least cause some movement, even if a terrifying battle did not break out, right? Moreover, it had been a few days since they entered. Mount Ghost God was not big, so they should have finished exploring long ago, right? What were the 3 great perfection experts doing inside? Some large clans also sent scouts in, but they also disappeared after entering, and there was no more news. Some great perfection experts arrived nearby, but for some reason, they did not enter in the end, but waited for the 3 great perfection experts to come out. This wait took more than a month, and after 1.5 months, the 3 great perfection experts finally came out. After they came out, they did not leave immediately. The 3 great perfection experts went to find a few great perfection experts who gathered nearby, and then 8 great perfection experts took action and sealed Mount Ghost God. How powerful was the seal set up by 8 great perfection experts together? This Mount Ghost God probably could not enter, and no one would be able to come out. After the seal was set up, the entire Mount Ghost God disappeared, and only a thick white fog appeared here. If a martial artist went in, they would unknowingly walk out. The matter of Mount Ghost God has been dealt with, everyone is dismissed. A great perfection expert transmitted his voice, and then all the great perfection experts left, leaving behind more than 1 million baffled martial artists. These great perfection experts did not tell them what happened in Mount Ghost God, nor did they tell them how it was handled, nor did they explain how the more than 100,000 martial artists died. There must be a shocking secret hidden in Mount Ghost God. The entire eastern region was guessing and discussing, but unfortunately, no martial artist knew the truth. If the 8 great perfection experts did not say, no one would be able to guess the truth. Looks like Zishi won't be able to come out. What exactly happened? Luli still had Zishi's jade talisman of life in his hand. He was at a loss. This was so strange that it was beyond his understanding. He had no other choice. The entire Spirit God Mountain had been sealed, and it was even sealed by the combined efforts of 8 consummate experts. Even if he asked Blood Fairy to help him, she probably wouldn't be able to break it even after tens of thousands of years. He snuck to the foot of the mountain of Ghost God and circled around a few times. He even personally entered the white fog area. In the end, he also automatically turned around and came out. There were also many martial artists wandering around nearby. Most of them wanted to try out the divine array set up by a perfected stage powerhouse and see if they could comprehend anything. Let's go. Luli looked into the haze and sighed. He turned around and walked toward the north. He could only pray for Zishi to take care of herself. There was nothing he could do to help, and he couldn't keep waiting here. Luli went all the way to the north. Maybe it was because of the situation at the Mountain of Supernatural Beings, but he had been traveling in peace for a month. Surprisingly, he didn't run into too much trouble. It was quiet along the way. Every now and then, he would run into some ferocious beasts and immortal beasts, but Luli would take a detour. Luli was experienced after such a long journey. The eastern region was dangerous, but as long as he could avoid some dangerous areas in advance, he would be safer. At the very most, he would run into some unexpected situations, such as a fight between warriors or a warrior flying over his head. Luli had the trace of Tao. When he sensed any fluctuation in space, he would hide or go into the realm of Dharma at once. Therefore, as long as Luli was not unlucky, the chances of him running into danger were low. Luli traveled smoothly for over 3 months. Finally, his luck ran out. When he passed by a hill, the ground suddenly cracked. Then, 2 huge pincers came at him. At the bottom of the hill, a horrifying immortal beast was lurking. The beast didn't reveal its energy. It was only alarmed by Luli's passing. Luli reacted quickly. He didn't even think about fighting this immortal beast. He dashed into the realm of Dharma. Swish, right when Luli was about to enter the realm of Dharma, a white line suddenly came. As the white line came, space began to tremble. Then, Luli trembled. He did not go into the realm of Dharma. Whoosh! The white line hit Luli at once and then moved around him. Soon, it entangled him. The white line was like a spider's silk, entangling Luli like a meat dumpling. Oh no! Luli's mind was weighed down. This immortal beast was freaky. It could shake up space, and the space around him was shaking violently. Luli could not go into the realm of Dharma. Boom, boom, boom. The beast turned around and dashed into the underground. Luli was entangled by the white line and was dragged underground as well. There was some strange energy in the white line. Luli could not move at all. All his energy was sealed. The beast was fast. In an instant, it had gone for thousands of miles underground. Before Luli realized what was going on, he found himself in a huge underground plaza. But many parts of the plaza had collapsed. It seemed to be in a dilapidated state. This must be a relic. In the past, it might have been a palace of a major force. It seemed to have a long history. The walls were covered with moss and the smell was stale. At this moment, Luli had a clear look at the appearance of the immortal beast. The immortal beast was not large in size. It looked like a combination of a scorpion and a spider. It was covered in brown scales and had a gloomy vibe that made people feel uncomfortable. The beast dragged Luli underground but didn't attack him. Instead, it kept dragging Luli through the halls. The bottom of the halls was spacious. After passing through many halls, the beast finally dragged Luli to a statue made of black wood. Hiss, hiss! Luli used psychic power to check the statue. He felt he had fallen into an ice cellar. The statue itself was a statue of a malicious ghost. The atmosphere it was emitting was evil and cold. There is a remnant soul of an old demon hidden in the statue. Luli made this judgment at once. He even suspected that the beast was controlled by the remnant soul of the old demon inside the statue. Luli's mind worked quickly, trying to figure out a way out. Now that he was entangled by the white line, could he go into the realm of Dharma? More importantly, the immortal beast could make space tremble and stop Luli from going into the realm of Dharma. Of course, Luli was not in a panic. He had many means, such as the super-divine liquid of destruction and the black flames. He believed that the immortal beast would not be able to stop those things. If the remnant soul inside the statue wanted to enter Lu Li's body, it would be courting death. "TSK, TSK." From the statue came a hoarse voice. The voice exclaimed, "It has been years since I have seen such a young and powerful body. Nice. I will accept this body. With this body I can live for thousands of years longer. Ha ha." Chapter 3404. Sure enough, this was an old demon. This immortal beast was also under his control. The reason why the beast didn't attack Lu Li was that it wanted him alive to occupy Lu Li's body. Lu Li was secretly on guard and was ready to release his flames at any time. He wanted to burn the remnant soul of the old demon and the immortal beast as well. "Kid, why are you so calm?" the old demon suddenly asked in surprise. "Are you not afraid of death? Old bastard, your remnant soul has existed for many years, right?" Lu Li coldly said, "Your 3 souls have all dissipated, right? Only the 7 fragments are left, right? Even if you take my body, it won't do you any good, right? At most, you can linger on for a while. What's the difference between hiding inside the statue?" "Of course there is a difference." The old demon laughed and said, "I can't move inside the statue. With a powerful body, I can use it to go out and find treasures. Then, I can find a pure soul. I still have a chance to reverse the yin and yang and be reborn." "Is there such a skill?" Lu Li blinked and said, "Didn't they say that when a person's 3 souls dissipate, not even the main god can come back to life? Are you a warrior at the consummate realm? How come you have such a powerful skill?" "That's because you are ignorant." The old demon sneered and said, "There are all kinds of strange things in this world. So what if the 3 souls dissipate? Even if there is only one of the 7 fragments, as long as the soul consciousness is still there, as long as the memory is still there, then there is a chance to come back to life. Of course, the conditions are very harsh. The purest soul is a godly fetus. It is very rare, and only one can be found in 10,000 years. Ha ha. As long as you are still alive, there is hope. So, kid, sorry, I will bury you after I use your body." Buzzing. The statue lit up and its eyes turned blood red. Then, a shadow floated out and quickly floated towards Lu Li's body. A voice sounded in Lu Li's mind, "Punk, don't fight back. I will seal a strand of your remnant soul into the statue. In this way you can live for a while. If you fight back, I will have to devour your soul." "Ha ha." Lu Li sneered. When the shadow came over, Lu Li's body suddenly glowed in a dark light. Following that, a dark cloud of fire expanded and spread to the entire hall. A mournful scream sounded out. The shadow's reaction speed was quite fast. He immediately rushed into the statue. He was clearly injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let out such a mournful scream. Woo! At the same time, the beast screamed as well. It rolled over and smashed into the wall, which caused the palace to collapse. Rocks and mud fell down. Lu Li was almost buried alive. The white spider silk around Lu Li's body was burnt up. He stood up and stared at the statue instead of the immortal beast. That immortal beast's entire body was on fire. Although it wasn't dead yet, it was clearly not going to survive. Lu Li stared at the statue because it was not burnt down. There was a faint red glare that protected the statue from being burnt down. "Brat, I'm going to tear you to pieces." A furious bellow came out. Following that, there were some noises coming from the palaces. Lu Li used psychic power to check. Another 4 or 5 beasts were coming. Lu Li absorbed the black flames around him and then disappeared on the spot. He had entered the magic realm. Those beasts rushed over and reached the statue. But since they couldn't see Lu Li, they didn't know who to attack. They just stood where Lu Li was. Buzzing. Space trembled as Lu Li came out again. Black flames surged out from his body. The black flames could even burn Bing Lu to death. Those immortal beasts should be weaker than Bing Lu. How could they stand it? After Lu Li released the black flames, he went back into the magic realm, leaving the black flames to engulf all the immortal beasts. All the immortal beasts were on fire. They were rolling around, and some were smashing into the statue. Boom! The statue trembled, but it didn't shatter. The 4 or 5 immortal beasts rolled around for a while before they all turned into mutilated bodies. They were all burned to death. Buzzing. Lu Li came out again. Looking at the statue, he said, "What else do you have? Use all of them. If not, I will send you to hell." The statue was strange. There must be some formation that the black flames couldn't burn. However, Lu Li could sense that the energy of the statue was still weakening. If the fire burned for a while, the statue would be completely destroyed. Once the statue was destroyed, where could the remnant soul go? "How can you have such horrifying flames?" The remnant soul of the old warrior asked. "This is not something you can have. You don't have the realm and power to have this kind of flames. Also, you didn't use any treasures. Punk, who are you?" "You won't know who I am even if I tell you," Lu Li said lightly. "Give me a reason not to destroy your remnant soul. Otherwise, in the time for 10 breaths, you will vanish from this world." The remnant soul said nothing. After the time for 5 breaths he said, "Okay, I admit that you are good. I admit defeat. I am willing to trade an important piece of information for a chance for my remnant soul to linger on." Lu Li said emotionlessly, "Speak. There is something special about this hall." The remnant soul said, "This is the residence of an ancient race. It has been a long time since this race was wiped out. All the treasures were taken away. Only this statue is left. There is another place that has not been discovered. There is a Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level." Tao? Lu Li's eyes glowed. Another Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level? This thing was very crucial to him because he had always been comprehending the Tao. The Haotian Tao and the life and death Tao from before had some significance to him. If he could observe the Tao of a great perfection expert, it might be of great help to him. "Where is it?" Lu Li asked. He asked Blood Fairy to come out and set up the formation. The array he had set up was to seal the remnant soul, to prevent it from running around and to prevent it from harming him. It was just an remnant soul that was burned by the black flames. Blood Fairy could seal it up with a formation. Lu Li was not afraid that the remnant soul would have any evil thoughts after it was sealed up. In the small hall at the end, the remnant soul did not notice Lu Li's intention. "Go to the left and you will enter a super ancient hall. Take the corridor on the right and at the end you will reach a dead end. There is a mechanism in the dead end. Activate the mechanism and you will enter a small hall. There is a wood carving in the small hall. Inside the wood carving is the Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level of the ancient race." "I hope you are not lying to me," Lu Li said coldly. "I will seal up this place. Your remnant soul cannot escape. If I find out that you have lied to me, I will destroy your soul." Chapter 3405. It took Blood Fairy 6 to 8 hours to finish setting up the pattern. This part of the world would be sealed off. Not even psychic power, let alone remnant souls, could come out. Blood Fairy was sure that the remnant souls could not come out. Even if they could, it would take a long time. She would be able to sense it. Lu Li left with a peace of mind. Following the guidance of the remnant soul of the old demon, he walked all the way to the hall. After walking through more than a dozen broken halls, he found the corridor. As he had expected, it was a dead end. There seemed to be no divine patterns or trap. Blood Fairy went to investigate and found the divine inscription that opened this place. Although it was well hidden, it was exactly as the old devil's remnant soul had described. Lu Li told Blood Fairy to activate the divine pattern. He was on high alert. He even took out the divine liquid of destruction, fearing that some powerful beasts would come out. Buzzing. After a moment, the wall glowed. A door appeared. Luli checked with psychic power and was relieved. The layout inside was exactly the same as the old Devil's Remnant soul had described. There was nothing inside, only a wooden sculpture. Luli walked in and stood in front of the wood sculpture. This wood sculpture was made of the same material as the previous one. The difference was that this sculpture was of a powerful warrior of an ancient race. His eyes were filled with vigor as if he were a living warrior. Luli did not try to sense it at once. He told Blood Fairy to check while he used the trace of Tao to see if there was any danger. Making sure that there was no danger, Blood Fairy went back into his body. He stood in front of the statue and began to check. There was Tao in the statue. Luli could tell at a glance. He looked up and used his spiritual energy to check the eyes of the statue. He could tell that the Tao was contained in the eyes. Buzzing. Right at that moment, the eyes of the statue suddenly glowed. Following that, a strange force came out and enveloped Luli. Luli shrank and dashed into the eyes of the statue in a blur. What? Luli saw a flash of black light. He found himself in a strange space. He was shocked. He released the black flames at once to cover himself up. At the same time, he checked the surroundings. What? Luli was relieved after he took a look. There was no danger where he was standing. At this moment, he understood something, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He had been very careful, but he was still tricked by the remnant soul of that old devil. This was a strange space inside a huge cave. This cave was sealed, and there was no exit. There was a pool in the cave, and beside the pool was a stone platform. There was a skeleton on top of the platform, and below it, there was a corpse sitting cross-legged on a black stone platform. Its appearance was identical to that of the statue outside, so it was most likely the corpse of a great perfection stage member of an ancient race. The other corpse fell below the stone platform. His face was ferocious, and there was a look of unwillingness and madness on his face. More than half of his body had been destroyed, and his head had exploded. It was obvious that he had suffered a powerful attack before he died. Luli guessed that the other body was that of the old demon. He came here by mistake and died here. The remnant of his soul escaped. He tricked Luli into coming here because he wanted Luli to die here as well. His remnant soul would not live for long anyway. He wanted Luli to die with him. Luli used the trace of Tao to check. At the same time, he let out Blood Fairy and asked her to take a closer look. He told Blood Fairy to be extremely careful when she examined the platform. The old devil had died beneath it, and the platform definitely contained the seal of the consummate expert's laws. It possessed immense offensive power. This cave was unusual. Even though it was sealed, the Xian Qi in heaven and earth was rich. It was not stuffy at all. The pool in front of the platform was not an average one. There must be some strong liquid in it. Luli could feel the surging energy in it. Perfect relic weapon. Luli's eyes soon fell on the high platform. There was a relic weapon stuck in the ground next to the consummate warrior. It was a saber. Although it didn't seem to have any powerful aura, since it could be placed next to a consummate warrior, it must not be an ordinary item. Emperor armaments and sacred armaments didn't count for much. What cultivators valued the most was that they contained the laws of expert. When they released this divine armament, they would be able to activate the laws within. The might of this divine armament was very frightening. Master, the platform is dangerous. I can't go any closer. Before Luli could finish his investigation, Blood Fairy said, I can sense a surge of energy in the platform. It is not a divine pattern. I think it is a trace of energy left behind by the warrior. I think I will be killed as soon as I go near it. Okay, don't do anything rash. Luli was worried. He told Blood Fairy to check other places to see if there were any exit. He stayed where he was and tried to sense from a distance. An hour later, Blood Fairy said again, Master, this is a strange space. The entire space is sealed off by a mysterious force. Only souls can go out. Souls can go out? Luli became more solemn. Unless he gave up his physical body, he could fly his soul out and find a chance to rebuild his physical body. In that case, his body would have to stay here. He could not take away the pellet nor the Dharma realm. The connection between the Dharma realm and this world was in the pellet. In other words, if Luli wanted to leave as a soul, then everything he had done would be pointless. He would have to start all over again. Also, he was a soul. This was the eastern region. There was no powerful warrior nearby that could help him. He would have to float around alone. Would he have a chance to rebuild his body? The eastern region was a dangerous place. In less than half a month, his soul would be attacked by warriors or immortal beasts. By then, his soul would be gone. The remnant soul outside must be in the same situation. When he left, his soul must be intact. But he could not rebuild his body. Gradually, he became a remnant soul. In the end, he could only hide in the wood sculpture and linger on. I have been careless, Luli was angry. Only a remnant soul was left. He would not be able to linger on for long. What was there to worry about? Why would he be afraid that Luli would burn his remnant soul? His mind must be filled with resentment, and he would want to kill as many as he could. Luli and Blood Fairy kept on searching. After 2 days, they were sure that there was no exit. Apart from the platform and the pond, there was nothing special. Luli gazed at the platform. He had an idea. Either he could go up to the platform and stand in front of the remains of the warrior at the consummate realm, or he could end up like that asshole and leave his body here forever. Chapter 3406. Luli stayed in the cave and observed for more than 10 days. Eventually, he made up his mind that he could either go up to the platform or die here. He walked toward the platform slowly. Luli didn't even bother to collect the interspatial ring of the corpse. If he died here, it would be pointless to have more treasures. There were 9 stairs in total. Luli stepped onto the first one carefully. All of a sudden, the entire platform trembled. Then, a surge of energy came from the platform. The energy seemed to be a warning. If Luli dared to move forward, he would be attacked by the powerful energy from the platform. An extremely fierce attack. Luli also sensed a fatal danger. He stood on the first stair and didn't dare to move. He closed his eyes to sense the situation on the high platform. The situation on the platform was complicated. Luli could not see clearly even with the trace of Tao. Vaguely, he felt that the platform was like an oppressive volcano with horrifying power that could erupt at any time and tear him into pieces. What should I do? Luli began to think. 2 hours later, he had a general idea. Either he could break the platform by force, or he could withstand the attacks from the platform, or he could figure out the deeper meaning behind the design of the platform. It would be difficult to break the platform. There was no mark on the platform. It was very likely that the corpse had attacked it before. Therefore, it could not be broken. Luli wanted to try whether or not he could do it. He retreated several thousand feet, and then released an ordinary attack. He released a surge of source energy which transformed into a fist and smashed at the stair. Boom! The fist landed on the stair. A ray of dark glare came from the platform. Then came a muffled sound. This fist felt like a child's fist that had smashed into an iron plate. There were no ripples on the high platform. Hoi! Luli increased his strength. He took out his weapon, released ray of sword light, and then used Dharma construct. Also, he took out some divine elixir of destruction, trying to corrode the platform with it. It didn't work. Luli tried many ways, but nothing happened to the platform. He didn't even leave a mark, let alone destroy it. Luli walked to the side of the platform and swung his fist. He mobilized his energy and punched at the platform. This move was so powerful that not even average Saint Emperors could stand it. However, the platform didn't shake. It just gave off a black glare. The platform was so strong. The first option was not working. Luli didn't want to try to withstand the attack from the platform for now. This was the last option, and it might be a one-way trip. If Luli was right, the dead corpse of the Asmodean must be a powerful warrior that was very close to the complete realm. How could Luli do it? Luli climbed up the stairs again. This time, he sat on the stairs with his legs crossed, trying to sense everything on the platform, trying to figure out the meaning behind it. This was the place where the consummate powerhouse ascended to heaven. The purpose of this high platform was obviously to protect his remains. He didn't want to end up without a corpse left. But why didn't he put his body in a coffin? Luli had been to many tombs with treasures. The powerful warriors would put their bodies in coffins and set up powerful inhibition formations in the coffins. They would also leave their treasures outside. This way, under normal circumstances, no martial artist would go and destroy their remains. It was easy for a warrior at the complete realm to get a coffin of the highest level. Why did he leave his body exposed? Why did he sit on the platform when he died? The death of this warrior at the complete realm was sudden. Not even he saw it coming. Luli thought of one possibility. For a warrior at the complete realm, if he had reached the end of his life, he would have had some time to make arrangements. Even if he didn't arrange it, his descendants would have arranged it for him. How could it be so simple and cold to store his remains in such a cave? That is it. Luli suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the skull on the platform. There was a small crack on the skull. Clearly, the warrior was injured. His soul might have been hurt. There was also the saber in front of him. Half of the saber was stuck into the platform. The platform was a place for warriors at the complete realm to cultivate. How could he have stuck the saber into the platform for no reason? If the platform was destroyed, wouldn't it be a waste of time to repair it? Luli thought of the dilapidated palaces outside and the skeletons in the palaces. Luli was certain that the Foot Clan was attacked. The warrior at the complete realm was badly injured. He came back when he was dying and died. Since he died in a hurry, the warrior at the complete realm didn't have time to make arrangements. Therefore, he left some energy and engraved his own rules and Taoist seals in the platform to protect his body. This space was also sealed by his powerful skills, so that one could only enter but not leave. Was this to prevent warriors from accidentally breaking in and then asking other powerful warriors to come in and destroy his body? But souls could escape from here. Luli couldn't figure it out. He didn't understand the profound meaning of the warriors' arrangement. Luli thought of another direction. The powerful attack on the platform did not rely on the divine glyphs, but on the powerful energy and Taoist seals left by the warrior before he died. It had been a long time. Much of the energy must have dissipated. Could it be that the warrior had been consuming the energy of the platform, and when the energy ran out, he could go up to the platform? Let's see. Luli jumped down, then he took out a rope and tied it around the body of the Asmodean. With a sudden swing, he threw the body towards the high platform. Buzzing! When the corpse flew onto the high platform lit up with a dazzling black light. Following that, the saber on the high platform suddenly flew up, and the saber disappeared. It turned into a stream of light and struck the corpse like lightning. Boom! What happened next stunned Luli. The corpse of the Asmodean was smashed into dust by the saber. A body that was infinitely close to the consummate realm was very strong. Even the bones of a dead warrior could be as powerful as a relic weapon. Yet, it was smashed into dust by a casual move. Luli thought for a while and took out a holy weapon from his interspatial ring. He stood in the distance, poured his origin energy into the holy weapon, and then threw it at the platform. Swish, the holy weapon whooshed over and landed on the platform. Once again, the platform glowed in a black glare. The saber moved again and landed on the holy weapon. Then, the holy weapon was smashed into pieces again. Nothing was left. Go on. Luli had many regular imperial weapons and holy weapons in his interspatial ring. He wanted to see if he could exhaust the energy in the platform with continuous attack. If he could, then the platform would not be dangerous anymore. He took out weapons one after another. They were all filled with origin energy so that the attacks would be sharp and could affect the protection of the platform. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Luli kept on attacking and the high platform kept on glaring. The saber flew up and then stabbed back, almost without a break. After Luli came to the immortal region, he had killed many warriors and acquired many interspatial rings. Most of the interspatial rings were regular relic weapons. Luli did not care about the consumption. He kept on attacking. He wanted to see if the energy in the platform could be used up after tens of thousands of attacks. However, he himself did not wake up, still sitting cross-legged on the stone stairs. His body's aura was extremely weak, turning into a translucent shadow. Time moved on. As time went by, Luli's body became more and more transparent, and his chi and energy were getting weaker and weaker. They even felt that Luli was not a living being, but a shadow of a warrior. 1 year, 2 years. Another 3 years passed. Luli's body became transparent. There was no longer any energy coming from him. It was as if he had vanished from this world. This kind of disappearance was different from the swift. The swift relied on a certain skill, but this kind of disappearance was more like merging with heaven and earth, becoming one with heaven and earth. Luli still had not woken up. At the moment, Blood Fairy felt she could not sense Luli's existence. Blood Fairy was surprised. She had a spiritual connection with Luli, and yet she could not sense him. What kind of Tao had Luli learned? Another half a year later, the stone stairs glowed. Luli came out with a smile on his face. He was filled with joy. After spending nearly 10 years, he finally made great progress in his comprehension of the traceless Tao. He felt that he had made a huge improvement in the aspect of concealment. It was very likely that even experts who were infinitely close to the great perfection stage would not be able to detect him. Warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm could borrow the force in heaven and earth. They were very close to nature and sensitive to nature. Therefore, when Luli used the art of concealment, warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm could see through it and sense Luli's existence. The traceless Tao was a kind of natural law. Just now, when Luli was stealthy, he had become one with heaven and earth, just like a warrior at the consummate realm. To a certain extent, the traceless Tao was similar to a warrior at the consummate realm. Well, Luli stood up. He squinted and gazed at the platform. After a moment of thought, his body glowed in white and became transparent. His body was as light as a feather, like a remnant of his soul. She slowly lifted her foot and walked up the stone staircase. He easily stepped onto the second stone staircase, but there was no reaction from the high platform. The third, the fourth, the ninth. Luli stood on the stage, but there was still no reaction from the stage. Luli put on a smile. He stepped forward until he stood in front of the warrior at the consummate realm. He bowed respectfully and kowtowed 9 times. When he was about to step back, the entire platform suddenly trembled. Luli was a bit surprised, but he did not panic. He did not sense any horrifying power or fatal danger. Whoosh! That saber suddenly flew up, but it was not aimed at Luli. Instead, it floated in the air and flew toward him. Luli grabbed the saber. After a white glare, Luli was knocked back. Boom! The platform suddenly cracked open. Then, the skeleton of the warrior at the consummate realm fell into the platform. Slowly, the platform healed up and went back to normal. Nice saber. Luli looked at the saber in his hand. It was a heavy saber, glowing in a dark blue color and giving off a chilly air. The saber was beautifully forged. It was over 3 feet long, majestic and domineering. More importantly, even an idiot could tell that the saber was a piece of treasure. Traceless. Luli saw the 2 words engraved on the hilt. He seemed to understand. The warrior at the consummate realm must have studied the traceless Tao. Even the name of the saber was Traceless Saber. Master, Blood Fairy asked curiously, what happened? Did you break through this place? Yes. Luli nodded with certainty. Not only that, I have learned a Tao. I have only scratched the surface, but I will make great progress if I go on. Also, I have acquired this Traceless Saber, the most advanced relic weapon in the world. This is a blessing in disguise. Blood Fairy asked again after a pause, Master, can you go out now? Not a problem. Luli bowed to the stage again. Then, he flew off the stage and collected all the divine liquid and interspatial rings. Then, he turned into nothingness and flew toward the wall. He smashed into the wall. The next second, he reappeared in the ruined hall. It has been 10 years. Luli sighed with a frown. I wonder if Little White is still at the northern battlefield. If not, my trip will be in vain. Chapter 3408. Luli did not leave right away. Instead, he walked toward the small hall. Blood Fairy could tell that the remnant soul had not left. It was still in the seal. Open the seal! Luli shouted. Blood Fairy opened the seal, and Luli walked in slowly. As soon as Luli arrived, the eyes of the statue glowed in a strange light. Then, a voice said in surprise, How come you are out? Luli answered with a light smile, I have learned the Tao inside, so I will come out of it. What are you saying that I cannot come out? No. The remnant soul answered at once. I mean, I did not expect you to learn the rules inside so quickly. I thought it would take you at least hundreds of years. Your Excellency is truly a genius. Congratulations. Same to you. Luli grinned. I forgot to tell you. I have destroyed your physical body. I am here to destroy your remnant soul in case you continue to wreak havoc in the human world. The remnant soul was taken aback. Lord, you cannot do this. You are burning the bridge after crossing it. Didn't we have a deal? How can you go back on your words? Enough with the act. Dark flames sprang up around Luli and enveloped the statue. Once again, the remnant soul shouted in fear, Have mercy, Lord. I have a secret to tell you. I will tell you as long as you spare my life. Say it. Luli snorted. The statue cannot stand for long. If you cannot convince me before the statue burns down, then you can disappear forever. There is a powerful immortal beast in the underground palace. The remnant soul could not waste any more time. My remnant soul has used a skill to trap that immortal beast's soul. I am slowly taking control of that immortal beast's soul. This immortal beast is almost as powerful as a warrior at the consummate realm. Lord, if you are willing to spare my life, I will give you this immortal beast. Not interested. Luli replied indifferently. More flames burst out from his body. Finally, the statue could not stand it any longer. It burst into flames. The remnant soul let out a miserable cry before it was incinerated into nothingness. Luli didn't want to take any more risks. He couldn't control the immortal beast yet. Moreover, it was very likely that this remnant soul would play tricks. If he went down and the immortal beast suddenly counterattacked, although he might not necessarily die, he did not want to take the risk again. Go. He soared into the air and quickly rushed up to the surface. Soon, he rushed out of the ground. When he smelled the fresh air, Luli took a deep breath and flew away in a blur. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, he found a random place and entered the Dharma realm. In the Dharma realm, he fell asleep. It wasn't that he hadn't rested during the 10 years he had spent in seclusion, but when he was sleeping, he was still thinking about enlightenment. He hadn't completely relaxed. Now, he could finally relax and rest. Luli slept for more than 10 days. When he woke up, he felt refreshed. He took out some divine liquid and fruits to enjoy. He began to recall what he had gained in the underground palace. His greatest gain was undoubtedly comprehending an extremely powerful Tao that was of great help to him, the traceless Tao. Luli's art of hiding was impressive as well. Not even a perfect realm warrior could find him in the Dharma realm. However, once he was in the Dharma realm, the entrances and exits were fixed. Previously, he was almost trapped by Bing Lu. Therefore, entering the Dharma realm was not really hiding. Now that he had the traceless Tao, he felt his art of hiding was improving. He had become one with heaven and earth. No matter how hard he tried, he could not find Luli because he had integrated with heaven and earth. How could a warrior that was infinitely close to a perfect realm warrior find him? Wouldn't they just have to sense heaven and earth to find him? Now that he had integrated with heaven and earth, how could they find him? I haven't mastered the traceless Tao yet. Luli was a bit shocked. If he had mastered the traceless Tao, not even a warrior at the perfect realm could find him. By then, he would be free to roam the world. Wait, Luli suddenly thought of something. If the traceless Tao was so powerful, then why did that warrior at the perfect realm die? He didn't die because of the exhaustion of his life, but because he was severely injured by a powerful warrior? Is there a Tao that can restrain the traceless Tao? Did I just happen to encounter a warrior at the perfect realm? Luli thought about it and realized there was only one possibility. Otherwise, it would be inexplicable. There were 3,000 paths and there must be countless Taos in the world. Everything in heaven and earth reinforced and restrained each other. Naturally, there must be a Tao that could restrain the traceless Tao. Never mind. Luli nodded to himself. He had decided to focus on the traceless Tao from now on. Regardless of anything else, as long as he could thoroughly comprehend the traceless Tao, his chances of survival would greatly increase. Warriors at the perfect realm were arrogant and they would not attack those that were not at the perfect realm. Warriors that were infinitely close to the perfect realm should not be able to find him. In that case, he would be safer and he could go anywhere in the world. All of a sudden, Luli noticed something. His realm seemed to have improved without him noticing. Previously, he was at the middle stage of the Emperor realm. Now, he was at the later stage of the Emperor realm. It would not be difficult for him to reach the peak of the Emperor realm. Das! Luli understood now. After reaching the Emperor realm, one must study the Daos in heaven and earth. Without that, one could hardly make any progress in cultivation. He had made some achievements on the traceless Tao, so his realm was improving. Very well. Luli smiled. If he could reach the Saint Emperor realm, he would like to do so. After all, he would improve in all aspects. As he learned more about Daos, his realm would improve, and there was hope for him to reach the Saint Emperor realm. Buzzing, the traceless saber appeared in Luli's hand. He wanted to take control of it. The saber was a relic weapon of a warrior at the perfect realm. It must contain the laws of attack of a warrior at the perfect realm. It would be a supplement for his relatively weak attack. Luli had the black flames, the super flames and the divine liquid of destruction. But those were external items. The more he used them, the lesser they would be. He could not go to the tomb of Flame Emperor to absorb the flames, could he? The saber was different. When he took control of it, it would be part of his abilities. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to go to Lu Xiaobai's place. He wanted to take control of the relic weapon first. After a day, Luli realized something. He could not take control of the saber. However, this saber naturally had some connection with him. In other words, this saber recognized him, but was not willing to be used by him. Is it because my understanding of the traceless Tao is not deep enough? Lu Li thought of a possibility. He could take control of the saber because he had scratched the surface of the traceless Tao. The saber had recognized him. However, his understanding of the traceless Tao was not deep enough, or his abilities were not strong enough. Therefore, the relic weapon was not willing to be controlled by him. The relic weapon had a spirit and it chose its master. Third Master. Chapter 3409. Apart from the traceless way and the supreme weapon, Lu Li collected some divine liquid as well. He didn't know what the divine liquid could be used for, so he didn't consume it rashly. Back in the underground palace, he didn't absorb it at will. Right, I can take it into the realm of magic. Lu Li thought about it. Whether the divine liquid was poisonous or not, he could take it into the realm of magic first. Condensing the realm of magic would increase its power by at least 10 times. Lu Li took out all the divine liquid and let the realm of magic absorb it. Then, he flew into the distance and snuck away. He tested his stealth and discovered that the traceless Tao stealth was even faster than the swift art. Similarly, there weren't any fluctuations. If only the traceless way and the stealth could be combined. An idea came to Lu Li's mind. The traceless way was a Tao and the swift was a skill. Theoretically speaking, Tao and skill could be combined. Many skills were derived from Tao. Therefore, it was not that Tao and skill could not be combined. It was just how to do it. The stealth was to make use of a special law to make enemies unable to sense one's presence. Any warrior would have to use their eyes, nose, ears, or psychic power to sense others. The swift could also sense through ripples in space or changes in heaven and earth. The swift did not make the warrior disappear, but it made living beings unable to sense him. It was like a deceptive skill. The warrior was there but he could not be seen, heard, smelled, or felt. That was the essence of the swift. Essentially, Lu Li was always there and he never disappeared. But the traceless way was different. The traceless way was to integrate the warrior into heaven and earth, becoming one with heaven and earth. Lu Li was heaven and heaven was Lu Li. No matter how hard one tried, one could not find anything. How could one find Lu Li? Become one with heaven and earth? Then, can I borrow some force in heaven and earth? A bold idea came to Lu Li's mind. If he could borrow some origin energy in heaven and earth, how different would he be from a warrior who was infinitely close to the complete realm? By then, he would be even more powerful. While Lu Li snuck away, he began to think, make deductions, and verify. He was using the traceless way. His speed was slower than usual, but it was fast enough, much faster than the swift. After 4 or 5 days of stealth, Lu Li felt his soul getting tired and his body getting weaker. He knew that he couldn't release the traceless Tao indefinitely. His body and soul couldn't handle it. He stopped to rest and entered the Dharma realm to rest for a day. Then, he continued on his way. After traveling for another 3 days, he encountered martial artists. There were 2 groups of people fighting in front of him. There were several dozen saint emperors, and 2 experts who were infinitely close to great perfection were fighting in the air. Give it a try? Lu Li was intrigued. He wanted to test the power of the traceless Tao. At the same time, he wanted to confirm something so that he could continue to study the traceless Tao. His body floated over and silently approached the battlefield. Needless to say, the saint emperors and great emperors fighting on the ground could not see him. He could even pass between the 2 saint emperors without them noticing. Lu Li only had to dodge their attacks. He easily passed through the battlefield, but he was not satisfied. Instead, he circled back and circled around the battlefield. Like a gust of wind, he moved to the left and to the right at will. His speed was at the extreme as well. He could dodge the attacks of average saint emperors. What he really wanted to see was if the two powerful warriors up there could see him. If they couldn't, then the traceless Tao was truly impressive. He could then travel across the immortal region without fear of being hunted down by average warriors. Maybe the battle above was fierce, or maybe the two powerful warriors didn't care about the battle below. Lu Li had been circling around the battlefield for almost an hour. None of the powerful warriors up there had sent psychic power down. Let's do it. Lu Li made up his mind. He flew up like a breeze. The two powerful warriors up there were fighting fiercely. They were evenly matched. Even if they noticed him, he could go back to the Dharma realm and run away. He didn't dare to get too close. After he flew up, he was thousands of miles away from the two warriors who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm. He circled around them, but the two powerful warriors didn't seem to notice him. They were still fighting. When Lu Li was 1,000 or 2,000 miles away, he didn't dare to go any closer. The attacks from the warriors who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm were horrifying. Lu Li's defense was not strong enough. He circled around them, but the two powerful warriors still ignored him. After some thoughts, Lu Li released a strand of killing intent that enveloped the two powerful warriors. The gazes of the two supreme powerhouses swept over at the same time, and their faces were filled with vigilance. Lu Li let go of his killing intent. He drifted down to the left like a breeze. He kept his eyes on the two powerful warriors, observing their expressions. The two powerful warriors were confused. They stared at where Lu Li was and used psychic power to check but found nothing. They continued to fight but held back. They seemed to be wary and kept an eye on the surroundings. Nice. Lu Li was overjoyed. He was absolutely sure now. The traceless Tao was indeed a path that defied nature. Warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm couldn't sense him. He hadn't learned everything yet. When he did, it was possible that even warriors at the Great Perfection realm couldn't find him. I can go anywhere in the world. Lu Li was filled with pride. He believed that he was now one of the most powerful assassins among the Reapers. Not even the average warriors could compete with him. With the traceless Tao, he could sneak up to warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm and then launch a sneak attack with flames or divine elixir of destruction. If nothing went wrong, he could kill some warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm in an instant. Regardless of overall abilities, he should be better than all the Reapers when it came to sneaking around. Let's try again. Lu Li calmed himself down and flew up again. He released his killing intent from afar and left at once. The two warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm were taken aback again. At this moment, they both stopped fighting. Their eyes were filled with surprise. Lu Li's wicked sense of humor was suddenly aroused. He flew to the sky above the two powerful warriors, snorted and sneaked away at once. That snort was like a bolt from the blue. The two warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm were so scared that their hair stood on end. To be able to silently lurk next to them without them noticing? As far as they were concerned, only warriors at the Great Perfection realm could do that. But this warrior at the Great Perfection realm released his killing intent and snorted. What did that mean? It meant that this powerful warrior was not happy. Retreat. One of the warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm shouted and then left with his subordinates in a panic. Soon, they disappeared without a trace. The other warrior cupped his fists toward the sky and said, "Sir, please forgive us. We will leave at once." The second warrior infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm also left with his subordinate. His subordinates, however, kept looking back in confusion. There was nothing in the sky. Why were their patriarchs trembling in fear? Chapter 34:10. Two warriors that were very close to the Absolute Realm had proven the Traceless Way's power. Luli wasn't sure if all the warriors that were close to the Absolute Realm couldn't see through the traceless way, but at the very least, the average powerful warriors couldn't find him. Luli felt emboldened. He felt there was nowhere in the world he couldn't go. Warriors at the Absolute Realm wouldn't stoop so low as to attack average warriors. Unless Luli was courting death by provoking a warrior at the Absolute Realm. By then, a warrior at the Absolute Realm could kill him like a fly even if he didn't want to. Let's go. Luli was full of confidence. He put on a smile. He floated around in the sky like a gust of wind. He wasn't just flying around randomly. He was testing different uses of the traceless way. He wanted to make himself more powerful and more flexible. Along the way, Luli practiced in many ways. His movements became more and more unpredictable, like a ghost. He was sure that with the traceless way, no saint king in the world could see him. Apart from some warriors that were infinitely close to the Absolute Realm, no one else could see through his stealth. After practicing for more than 10 days, Luli had mastered the use of the traceless way. He rested for a day in the realm of magic and flew toward the north as fast as he could after he came out. With the traceless way, he had nothing to worry about. He had the trace of the great Tao and the realm of magic. So what if he was spotted by a powerful warrior? So what if there were tens of thousands of warriors fighting in front of him? Even if there were dozens of warriors that were infinitely close to the Absolute Realm, what was there to be afraid of? This place was not far away from the battlefield at the north. If Luli flew at the top of his speed, it would take him a month at most. Maybe it was because this place was close to the battlefield at the north that there weren't too many warriors here. Of course, Luli still avoided some dangerous areas. He didn't think he was invincible with the traceless way. After more than 10 days, Luli passed by a mountain. From the distance, he could feel the chi and energy of an immortal beast, a very powerful one. Luli wanted to avoid it, but on second thought, he thought he could go and see if the immortal beast could see him. The immortal beast should be as powerful as a warrior that was infinitely close to the Absolute Realm. It would be a good test subject. Luli flew over like a breeze and soon, he rushed into the mountain. There was a valley in the mountain, and the beast was lurking in the valley. Before Luli got close to the valley, he could already feel the terrifying chi and blood of the immortal beast. He slowly approached. The immortal beast clearly did not notice him and was sleeping soundly in the valley. Luli activated the mark of the Great Tao with all his might, constantly sensing the situation of the immortal beast. 1,000 miles, 500 miles, 100 miles. A smile appeared on Luli's face again. If the immortal beast couldn't find him at such a close distance, then it definitely couldn't find him. Under normal circumstances, this immortal beast would have opened its eyes and roared. Immortal beasts were very sensitive to the chi and energy of living beings, especially Luli, who cultivated his body. His chi and blood were vigorous. Even if Luli released the occult concealment skill, Luli would still be able to detect him. Luli released some killing intent after some thoughts. Sure enough, the huge immortal beast opened its eyes, raised its head to the sky and roared, then charged towards them. Luli had already stealthily left. The immortal beast rushed over and arrived at the area where Luli was just standing. It roared and breathed out a puff of black smoke. All the flowers and trees nearby died instantly. While roaring, the immortal beast breathed out the black smoke. An area with a radius of dozens of miles became a dead land. After attacking for a while, the immortal beast went back in embarrassment because it could not sense Luli's presence. Luli was reassured. It seemed that this immortal beast could not find him. Luli didn't leave right away. He wandered around nearby. At the closest he got, he was only 3 miles away from the immortal beast. He was sure that this immortal beast could not find him. The traceless way was really amazing. Move! Luli left quickly and flew toward the north. After he was 30 miles away, Luli showed himself and moved forward as fast as he could. After another month, Luli was close to the battlefield in the north. There were more scouts here. Instead of using the traceless way, Luli used the occult concealment skill to move forward. The further north he went, the more scouts and warriors there were. There were even military camps. Luli wondered how many warriors were gathered here. Luli wanted to catch a scout and ask where Lu Xiaobai was, but he was afraid that the scout might not even know where Lu Xiaobai was. If he acted rashly and alerted the enemy, the powerful warriors here would notice. Luli decided to wander around to see if there was a small city. It would be easier to gather information in a city. After a few days, he realized that there were at least 10 million warriors gathered here. There were countless Saint Sovereign Realm warriors and hundreds of warriors that were very close to the Absolute Completion Realm. The military camps were arranged in a special way. They were built with some kind of powerful formation. The warriors that were very close to the Absolute Completion Realm did not live together. Instead, they lived separately. In many corners of the camps, there were powerful warriors that were very close to the Absolute Completion Realm. Therefore, Luli didn't dare to go into the camps at will, fearing that he might trigger some rune formations and alert the powerful warriors inside. After walking around for a few days, Luli found a small city. This city was probably built because of the war. Many parts of the city were new. It must have been built not long ago. Is this city under military control? Luli checked for a while and frowned. The city was filled with warriors. He would have to disguise himself as one if he wanted to go in. Luli observed for a while and realized that all the warriors had tokens. Without tokens, they could not enter the city. Is Lu Xiaobai in the city? Luli thought about it. He had to go in whether Lu Xiaobai was in the city or not. He could gather information in the city, but where could he go outside? He retreated quickly. After flying for 300,000 miles, he found a scout and killed him in one move. Luli stripped the scout, consumed his body, and put on the warrior's armor and weapon. Luli took the warrior's token. Luli also consumed the token so it contained his soul and chi. He used skill of transfiguration and swaggered into the city. A warrior stopped him at the city gate. After the token was verified, the warrior waved his hand and Luli entered the city. This city was indeed filled with soldiers. Inside were all restaurants, gambling dens, brothels, and the like. This city was built for these soldiers to relax and take a rest. Lu Xiaobai is not in the city. Luli came to this conclusion after he wandered around the city. He didn't sense any warrior that was close to the Absolute Completion Realm in the city. Lu Xiaobai was a powerful warrior of this realm, not to mention that he would be protected by more than a dozen powerful warriors. There was not a single powerful warrior in the city. Lu Xiaobai was not here. Luli was not worried that he could not find Lu Xiaobai. There were so many restaurants, brothels, and gambling houses in the city. There were more than 100,000 warriors here. It would be easy for them to find out Lu Xiaobai's whereabouts. Chapter 34:11. It was easy to get information. Luli only sat in the tavern for half a day before he learned the whereabouts of Lu Xiaobai. Lu Xiaobai was not in the city, nor was he in the barracks. He went to a mountain nearby. There was an ancient tomb in the mountain, which was discovered because of the recent war. It was not that Lu Xiaobai was looking for treasures. As the son of the king of the eastern region, he had all kinds of treasures. He entered the tomb because he had been fighting with the son of the king of the northern region for a long time. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. After the tomb appeared, the son of the king of the northern region proposed a bet. Each side would bring 10 powerful warriors in to see who would get the relic weapon of the master of the tomb first. Whoever got the relic weapon of the master of the tomb would win. The loser must make an announcement to admit defeat and stay away from the other side in the future. This was the fight between the young generation. The older generation had already determined the winner. The strength of the kings of the 9 regions had been ranked. Now it was time for the younger generation to fight. Lu Xiaobai had just started a fight with the son of the king of the northern region. Now, he was fighting with the son of the king of the northern region. They were fighting for the first place of the young generation. The fight of martial arts had become a fight of words? The fight of martial arts had not come to an end. Neither side could do anything to the other, so they resorted to words? Let's see who would get the relic weapon of the master of the tomb. Then the other side would admit defeat and announce it to the world? Once the announcement was made, the reputation of the other side would be affected. This would prove that the son of a king was suppressing the other. This would affect the state of mind of the loser and slow down his progress of cultivation. If this went on, the loser might be suppressed by the winner for the rest of his life. Lu Xiaobai and the son of the king of the northern region, Bio, had been in the tomb for more than a year, and they still hadn't come out. Since the generals of both sides were not here, the armies would not start a fight. They would wait for the final result to see who would win and who would lose. Reputation was important, especially for the son of the king of the northern region. If one wanted to be promoted in the future, then he must have combat abilities and achievements that could convince the major clans and powerful warriors. Therefore, the fight between the young kings had always existed in history. East, west, south, north, central, profound, Kuan, origin, battle. These 9 realms divided up the majority of the immortal region. Although there were many paragon-level cultivators in the immortal region, and there were 2 in the Cloud King city, the king of the 9 realms was the strongest in the immortal region. Whether it was in terms of combat strength or power, there was no doubt about it. If not, how could they dominate an area? It was said that the king of the eastern region did not have much lifespan left. If Lu Xiaobai wanted to ascend to the throne, he would need to have strong combat power and a glorious record. In history, the kings of the younger generation also grew up through constant battles. Whether or not they could defeat Bio was very important to Lu Xiaobai. Of course, it was also very important to Bio. If Bio failed, the king of the north might choose another son to groom. However, the king of the eastern region only had one son. Once Lu Xiaobai was defeated this time, it would also have a great psychological impact on him. It might be difficult for him to become a great perfection expert in the future. At that time, the king of the eastern region would change hands. This was the information Luli found out. Luli sat in the tavern for half a day, trying to find out when Lu Xiaobai and the others would come out. But who could he ask for such information? Who could know? They didn't enter the tomb. Lu Xiaobai and the others were probably the only ones who knew what was going on in the tomb. It should be soon, right? Luli pondered. It had been more than a year since they went in. Lu Xiaobai and Bio each brought 10 powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection. Even if the 2 sides fought a battle of wits and courage, and fought to the death, at least one thing was certain: Lu Xiaobai and Bio would not die. They could fight, but there could be no death. His subordinates could die, but Lu Xiaobai and Bio could not, especially Lu Xiaobai. Once Lu Xiaobai died, the rage of the king of the eastern region would burst out and burn the entire northern region to the ground. This was also the tacit understanding between the realms. These young masters could not be killed. With 10 subordinates, not to mention their combat power, at least they each had their own skills. They could be sure that Lu Xiaobai and Bio would come out alive. Therefore, Luli estimated that it had been more than a year. The battle between Lu Xiaobai and Bio was probably about to end. Let's wait. Luli never thought about going into the tomb. First of all, he might not be able to go in. The entrance to the tomb was guarded by powerful warriors from both sides. What if some old demons sneaked in and assassinated their young masters? Secondly, Lu Xiaobai and the others had been in there for more than a year. They must have reached the deepest part of the tomb. Lu Li might not be able to catch up with them. Maybe by the time he went in, Lu Xiaobai and the others would come out. Lu Li decided to rest in the city and wait for half a year. He believed that in a year at most, Lu Xiaobai and the others would come out. By then, he could tell if Lu Xiaobai was Little White just by looking at them from the distance. There were guest rooms in the tavern, but they were expensive. Lu Li was not in need of celestial stones. The city was under military control and it was quite chaotic. Lu Xiaobai had mobilized many major races at the north. When Lu Xiaobai was here, the warriors of those races were obedient. But when Lu Xiaobai was not here, they would be in chaos. Therefore, when Lu Li lived in the city for a while, no warrior would pay attention to him. There were also martial artists in the military camp or in the restaurants to cultivate in seclusion, so this was normal. Lu Li activated the divine patterns in the room. Then, he asked Blood Fairy to build some inhibition formations. He began to cultivate. While consuming the elixirs, he studied the traceless path. He did not consume the elixirs he obtained from the tomb of Yen King. Those elixirs were tens of thousands of years old. One elixir could be compared to at least 1,000 average ones. There were more than 100 of them. If he were to consume them all, he could finish them in a month at most. Lu Li did not want to consume the elixirs. This was not a good place to do so. Should the strong effects of the elixirs leak out, he would be in trouble. Consuming the elixirs was not a big deal. His physical body and soul were improving slowly. His priority was to study the traceless path. For him, the traceless path was the most important thing. As long as he could master the traceless path, he could go anywhere in the world. Not even a warrior at the absolute realm could find him. It was comfortable to cultivate in the tavern. The tavern was run by major families. Naturally, no warriors dared to make trouble here. Lu Li himself was an impostor. Therefore, no one came to him. He cultivated quietly for half a year. Lu Xiaobai and the others had not come out yet. Lu Li was not in a hurry. After all, Lu Xiaobai and the others would come out sooner or later. He would not be trapped in there forever. Another 4 months later, Lu Li suddenly woke up. He felt it was noisy outside. He had activated the divine patterns and Blood Fairy had built some. How could he hear what was going on outside? How messy was it out there? He used the traceless path at once to hide. He used the trace of the great path to check carefully. Soon, he was taken aback. It was not only noisy but also chaotic. It was as if the sky was falling. Something was wrong. From the ancient tomb came out a warrior who was very close to a warrior at the absolute realm. He brought back a piece of news. Lu Xiaobai was trapped and in danger. Chapter 34:12. It was not a big deal that Lu Xiaobai was trapped. It was scary that he was in danger. If Lu Xiaobai died in this ancient tomb, the warriors could not imagine how furious the king of the East region would be. Would all the warriors here be slaughtered, and even these big clans would be implicated? Among the 9 realm kings, the king of the East region was recognized as a powerful and hot-tempered supreme master. He was an immortal beast and had a violent personality. He became the king of the East region by stepping on the corpses of countless powerful warriors. During the years he ruled the East region, countless big clans that disobeyed him were exterminated by him. His violent and cruel name spread throughout the celestial region. His son was found not long ago, and he did not have much time left in his life. How could he not love his son? If Lu Xiaobai said he wanted to marry the little princess of a realm king or something, he would definitely propose immediately. If the other party was not willing, he would probably snatch it by himself. In the hearts of all warriors, any warrior in the East region could die, even warriors at the peak, but Lu Xiaobai would never die. Because no powerful warrior dared to kill Lu Xiaobai, not even the king of the East region. Once Lu Xiaobai was touched, and the king of the East region was about to die. At that time, the king of the East region would turn the entire celestial region upside down. If he went crazy, he might even destroy the creatures in that realm. He was about to die, his only son was dead, how could he not go crazy? What kind of situation would happen when a tyrannical, powerful expert went berserk? It was unimaginable. Therefore, the whole city was in chaos at this moment. Some people screamed crazily, some warriors rushed to the distance to spread the news, and countless soldiers and powerful warriors gathered here from the barracks. Lu Li's heart sank when he heard the news. But he was not too panicked at first. Instead, he patiently listened to the discussions of the warriors outside and inquired about the information. In his opinion, as long as Lu Xiaobai was not dead, the king of the East region would definitely come as soon as possible. There were also warriors at the peak of the East region. There must be clan leaders at the north who were at the peak, and there might even be warriors at the barrack. As long as the warriors at the peak went in, Lu Xiaobai would be saved, right? He soon realized that he was thinking too much. He had forgotten about the Flame Emperor's tomb. Consummate experts couldn't enter the Flame Emperor's tomb. This tomb was similar to the Flame Emperor's tomb. If a perfected expert were to force their way in, the entire space in the tomb would collapse, and Lu Xiaobai would die even faster. It's said that the young lord activated the strongest divine inscription grand formation inside and was suppressed by the formation and the supreme treasure. The 10 experts he brought with him were also suppressed. Only one was lucky enough to escape. Right now, the young lord is on the verge of death. If we don't think of a way, I'm afraid he won't live for long. Nothing will happen, nothing will happen. All the experts who were infinitesimally close to the Paragon Transformation Realm were rushing into the graveyard. With so many experts, it was impossible for them to not be able to decipher the divine inscriptions array, right? Young Lord will definitely be saved. That's right, the news has already spread. All the experts in the Eastern region who are proficient in divine inscriptions and formations will rush over here, right? Young Lord definitely won't die. Master God, please protect us. Young Master must survive. Otherwise, our clans will be finished. We will not survive under the wrath of the King of the Realm. The cultivators in the city gathered together. The Saint Kings were no longer able to maintain their composure. Worry and fear filled their faces. They were not sad about Lu Xiaobai's death. They were just worried that their clans would be killed by the king of the Eastern region. Let's go. Lu Li listened for a while and then flew toward the northwest at top speed. Lu Xiaobai was suppressed by the divine inscriptions? Blood Fairy had some attainments in divine inscriptions. Lu Li must go and have a look. If Lu Xiaobai were Little White, Lu Li would go and save him even at the risk of his life. Lu Li sped up and dashed toward the Long King Mountain where the ancient tomb was located. The mountain was not far away, only 3 million miles away. Lu Li arrived in half a day at the top of his speed. Many warriors had gathered here. All of them were warriors and powerful warriors from the eastern region. There were no warriors from the northern region. The army had surrounded the entire mountain and blocked off any information. Lu Li did not waste time. He used stealth skill and flew into the mountain, avoiding the detection of the warriors. He dashed toward the depth of the mountain. He could sense many warriors and powerful warriors were gathered at the peak. The peak must be the entrance to the ancient tomb. There were warriors close to the consummate realm at the peak. To avoid trouble, Lu Li released the traceless way and sneaked toward the peak like a ghost. Soon, he arrived at the peak of the mountain. There were some dilapidated palace ruins on the mountain peak, and layers upon layers of soldiers surrounded the palace in the center. Inside the palace stood 3 powerhouses who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm, and their faces were filled with anxiety. Lu Li passed through the encirclement of warriors and arrived at the dilapidated palace. He saw a dark entrance. But when he saw the dark glow coming from the entrance, Lu Li became worried. The entrance was sealed off. With the traceless way, Lu Li could hide from the three warriors. But if he wanted to go in, he would have to break the seal. In that case, the three warriors would notice him. Time was of the essence. Lu Li could not afford to worry so much. He dashed out and appeared in the palace. What? The hair on the three supreme powerhouses stood on end, and the soldiers nearby widened their eyes. A martial artist had actually appeared in the main hall without making a single sound? What was going on? Consummate realm? That was the first thought that came to the warriors and the three warriors. Otherwise, they would have sensed Lu Li's presence in the hall. But when they checked with psychic power, they felt Lu Li was like a warrior at the later stage of the Emperor realm. We must be wrong. One of the Saint Emperors murmured. The other warriors shared the same thought. The three powerful warriors looked at each other, confused. Lu Li had used the skill of transfiguration to disguise himself as an old man. The three powerful warriors did not have the courage to check at will. Therefore, they could not tell that Lu Li was in disguise. One of them thought about it and asked, "Who are you?" "Who I am is not important," Lu Li said coldly. "I am here to save Lu Xiaobai. Open the seal and take me to where Lu Xiaobai is imprisoned." But the three warriors were hesitating. Lu Li's identity was unknown. How could they let him in? What if he was an enemy? What if he was here to assassinate Lu Xiaobai? Idiot! Lu Li yelled angrily. "I am not a consummate realm warrior. You have so many powerful warriors in there. Are you afraid that I will do anything? What is more, Lu Xiaobai is about to die. What is there to worry about? If you waste time and cause Lu Xiaobai's death, your realm king will kill you. That is none of my business." The three warriors were stunned. On second thought, Lu Li's words made sense. Warriors at the consummate realm could not go in. What was there to be afraid of? There were at least 50 warriors close to the consummate realm in there. How could Lu Li do anything he wanted? "Come with me." An old man with a goat-like face made up his mind. He released a ray of Xian energy to open the seal and then flew in. Lu Li snorted and swaggered in after him. Third Master. Chapter 34:13. Something is not right. After Lu Li went in, a red-haired warrior blinked and sent a message to another warrior. "That warrior, I think he is like the fire demon." "I think so." The other warrior came back to his senses and replied. "He is also at the sovereign realm, and he is a human. It is just that he looks different. His tone is similar. Also, he has a powerful skill of hiding. I couldn't catch up with him even when I tried. Now they are a match." "No." The red-haired warrior was taken aback. He said, "Stay here. I will go in. Otherwise, we will be in trouble." "No." The other warrior with brown hair shook his head and said, "So what if he is the fire demon? There were 50 experts inside, so he couldn't possibly overturn the heavens. I think the fire demon and young master are old acquaintances. That day, Lord, you didn't give the letter to young master. Young master was asleep and didn't know. Lord Yu's attitude is strange as well. If the fire demon and young master didn't know each other, why didn't Lord Yu kill him? Why did he ask him to leave?" "What? Lord Yu didn't give the letter to young master?" The eyes of the red-haired supreme expert flashed, somewhat puzzled. He asked, "Lord Yu, why are you doing this? Isn't he afraid that young master will be enraged when he finds out?" The warrior with brown hair shook his head and said, "I don't know. Anyway, I was guarding outside young master's palace that day. I didn't see Lord Yu come in. Lord Yu also told us to keep it a secret. Then we don't care." The red-haired warrior sighed and said, "I hope nothing happens to young master this time. Otherwise, you and I will die for sure. The region king loves young master so much. Alas, I hope young master is blessed." The brown-haired utmost powerful being let out a sigh as well. His eyes then flashed with a hint of anger as he said, "This time around it's all Bio's fault. I reckon that the reason why the little lord was suppressed might be because of Bio and the others. If young master dies, Bio will be torn apart by the region king even if he is protected by the king of the north. It is a pity that Bio got away," the red-haired warrior said with pity. "If we can take Bio down, even if young master is gone, the region king will have a place to vent his anger." The two supreme masters communicated via voice transmission for a while. In the end, they did not say anything. Only two heavy sighs were left. Luli followed the goat-faced warrior inside. As soon as they entered, they saw a magnificent hall with a statue and some treasures. Luli and the goat-faced warrior didn't care. Luli only took a look at the statue before he followed the goat-faced warrior into the tunnel. There was a door at the end of the tunnel which had been opened. Luli and the goat-faced man rushed in. Inside the hall was a rectangular one. Traces of battle could be seen everywhere. Luli could see many runes, but they were all damaged. Luli kept on running. There were many doors in the next hall, some of which were open. The goat-faced man clearly knew the way and led Luli into one of the doors. Behind the door was a pitch-black corridor. The goat-faced expert said, "There will be soul monsters attacking here. Be careful." "It doesn't matter." White flames came out of Luli's body. He dared not to use the black flames for fear that he would be recognized. As soon as the white flame appeared, the corridor was illuminated and the temperature rose sharply. The man with the goat-like face immediately ran forward. He looked at Luli suspiciously but didn't say anything. "Let's go." Luli waved his hand. With the protection of the flames, average soul monsters wouldn't dare to get close. The goat-faced man moved on quickly with Luli following him. Not long afterwards, some shadows came out from the walls. As Luli expected, those soul monsters were afraid of the flames, so they didn't attack him. The goat-faced man was a powerful warrior close to the great perfection. It was not difficult for him to deal with these soul monsters. The corridor was long. They made it out in the time for one incense stick to burn. There was a door at the end of the corridor. Luli put away the flames and went in. After a white glare, they appeared in a desert. There were more traces of battle here, and many skeletons of dead, immortal beasts were scattered around. "Let's go." The goat-faced man didn't linger on this floor. There were many immortal beasts here, but they had all been killed. Lu Xiaobai and the goat-faced man stayed on this floor for a long time to clean up all the immortal beasts here. This time, it took them more than half a day to find the exit. Luli couldn't help but ask, "Have you been here before?" "Yes." The goat-faced man nodded and said, "I was one of the first to go in and I was in charge of leading the team. I know the situation here well." "How much longer?" Luli asked. The goat-faced man thought about it and said, 6 hours. There are 5 more levels. One of them is dangerous, but the dangers in the other places have been dealt with. Luli nodded and followed the goat-faced man. After 4 hours, they had passed through 4 levels and arrived at a narrow mountain path on the 5th level. "Up there." The goat-faced man pointed to the mountain path and said, "Young master, they are at the top of the mountain. There is an immortal beast lurking on the mountain path. We can't find the mother. Once we step on the mountain path, we will be attacked by its subsidiary bodies. Those subsidiary bodies are fast and they can explode themselves. The power is comparable to a strike from me." "That strong?" Luli raised his eyebrows and looked at the mountain path. Psychic power was restricted on the mountain path. Luli saw a lot of dark green liquid, probably left behind by the subsidiary bodies exploding. "I will distract them. You take care of yourself," the goat-faced man said. A purple haze appeared around him. The haze was tumbling around. It seemed to be a strong defensive skill. The goat-faced man rushed up. Not long after, dark green little beasts appeared from the side of the mountain path. These little beasts were like spiders that had eaten too much. Their bellies were round and round, but their speed was very fast. They madly rushed towards the goat-faced man. Boom, 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 boom. The explosions were powerful. Space was torn apart. However, the mountain path was protected by the divine patterns, so it was not damaged. Sir, hurry up. I cannot stay on the mountain path for too long. Otherwise, I cannot stand it. The goat-faced man shouted when he saw that Luli was still standing there. Luli waved his hand and said, "Go ahead. Don't worry about me." Buzzing, Luli released the traceless road at once and then vanished. He glided up like a ghost and arrived behind the goat-faced man. Many subsidiary beasts came out, but none of them noticed him. They didn't attack him. What? Realizing that Luli had disappeared, the goat-faced man blinked in confusion. He heard Luli's voice. "I told you to leave him alone. Go ahead. Those small beasts cannot hurt me." Even though Luli was talking to him, the goat-faced man sensed that Luli was behind him. The goat-faced man was afraid. How could he defend himself if Luli wanted to sneak up on him? Maybe he can really save young master? The goat-faced man was shocked. Then, he rushed up. Luli followed him as fast as lightning. The mountain path was long, but in the time for dozens of breaths, Luli and the goat-faced man had reached the peak. Luli looked into the peak at once to see what was going on. The next second, he froze and trembled. He could not hide anymore and was forced to reveal himself. His eyes were as round as saucers as he stared straight ahead, completely ignoring the countless gazes directed at him from all directions. There was a glow in his eyes. His lips trembled. After the time for 4 or 5 breaths, he choked with sobs, "Little, by." Third Sect Leader. Chapter 34:14. The top of the mountain was flat and spacious, with a radius of more than 100 miles. There was a golden platform at the peak of the mountain. At this moment, there were dozens of experts surrounding the platform. On the platform, there were 9 experts and a small beast. The 9 powerful warriors and the small beast were suppressed by a tripod. The tripod had a radius of more than 100 feet. It was not pressing down on the 9 powerful warriors and the small beast directly. Instead, it was floating in the air. The tripod rotated slowly, glaring. There was a purple airstream coming down from the mouth of the tripod. It was the purple airstream that was suppressing the powerful warriors and the small beast. The small beast was small, only the size of a head. It was white all over without a single strand of hair. It looked like a puppy or a kitten, very cute. Of course, it was not cute at all. It was lying on the ground, covered in blood. Blood was still coming out of its ears, nose, and eyes. Its eyes were closed and its breath was weak. Clearly, it had passed out. Luli could tell it was Little White at first glance. Even though it was a size bigger, its appearance and its chi and energy were things that Luli would never forget even if he turned into a ghost. He looked at Little White and his eyes became misty. Vaguely, he could see the cave in the frigid cloud mountain, the scene where he met Little White for the first time. Back then, Little White looked like a mouse. Small as it was, Little White could suppress the stone rats in the cave. Little White flew into the jute bag on Luli's back, and had been with him ever since. They fought at the 1,000-Island Lake, to the City of Mystic Armor, to the 9 Universes, to the Divinity. Little White grew up with Luli and fought with him everywhere. It saved his life many times and helped him through many trials. Without Little White, Luli would have become a pile of bones. Little White went missing in the Divinity. Luli remembered that there was an invasion of demons. He told Little White to refine its body in the air, and when he went to look for it, Little White was gone. The Divinity, the second heaven, the third heaven, the region of infinite desolation, the region of chaos, and then the immortal region. Luli could not remember how many years had passed. It must have been more than 1,000 years. Speaking of which, he did not spend a long time with Little White. Compared to the 1,000 years, it was just a short time. That being said, to Luli, Little White had always been important. Little White was like a brother to Luli. Little White was closer to Luli than to Lu Jingyang. It had been more than 1,000 years, but when he saw Little White again, he did not feel that it was a stranger. Instead, he felt a sense of familiarity. It was as if he had seen his long-lost younger brother. Little White, Little White. Luli cried out in a choked voice. Many people looked over. Lord Yu was among them. Hearing Luli's cry, Lord Yu became angry and shouted coldly, saying, Who told you to bring the fire demon in? Fire demon? The expressions of the group of experts turned cold. The fire demon came uninvited. What did he want? Was he trying to murder Lu Xiaobai? Several powerful warriors glared at Luli and stared at him with murderous intent. Take him down first. An expert shouted angrily. Lord Yu remained expressionless and did not speak. Obviously, he had tacitly agreed to this point. Immediately, 6 or 7 warriors rushed towards Luli and surrounded him. Buzz, right at that moment, on the dais, Little White suddenly glowed. Then, Little White opened its eyes. It seemed to have sensed something. Little White turned to Luli. Little White looked at Luli with confusion. Seeing that a group of powerful warriors were about to attack Luli, Little White moved its lips and said, Stop! Little White's voice was very soft. It sounded very weak and lifeless. But Little White's words were like an imperial edict. None of the powerful warriors dared to move. Lord Yu turned to Little White and said anxiously, Young master, don't talk. Save your strength. Luli wanted to release traceless stealth and intimidate the powerful warriors with flames. Hearing Little White's voice, Luli looked over and made eye contact with Little White. Luli trembled. Then, a glow came over his face and he came back to his normal self. He shouted, Little White, do you remember me? Little White's eyes were misty. He squinted and stared at Luli for a long time before he said, I don't know you. But I feel you are kind, like family. The powerful warriors around were stunned. Fire Demon said he was old friends with Luli? But it was true. Lord Yu was the only one with a gloomy expression. But he said nothing. Who on earth are you? Xiaobai said once more. Then, he slowly closed his eyes and fainted. All the martial artists present exchanged glances with each other, and were a little hesitant. Luli and Little White were old friends and Little White seemed to be close to Luli. Then why did Lord Yu say Little White didn't want to see Luli? Or maybe Lord Yu didn't give the letter to Little White at all. Lord Yu didn't seem to be surprised at all. So, he already knew about the relationship between Luli and Little White. Little White doesn't know me? Luli was in a daze. Had too much time passed? Had Little White forgotten about him? But on second thought, Luli didn't think it was right. Little White was so kind to him. If Little White didn't know him, then how could it be? Oh, the memory seal! Soon, Luli understood why Lord Yu didn't send the letter to Little White. Back then, Lu Ling's memory was sealed. It was not difficult for average saint emperors, not to mention the King of the East. Lord Yu wanted to train his son well since he found him after so much effort. Since Little White was going to be trained, then it could not be allowed to run around. Otherwise, Little White would go to the divinity to look for Luli every couple of days. How could Little White cultivate then? Also, Little White was like a phoenix that fell into a chicken's nest and made friends with some chickens. Naturally, the King of the East didn't want Little White to hang around with Luli anymore. Therefore, it was reasonable that Little White's memory was sealed. Lord Yu knew this clearly. He must have been sent here by the King of the East to protect Little White. He didn't want Little White to recognize Luli and affect Little White's cultivation. Lord Yu didn't let Luli see Little White or kill him. Instead, he saw Luli off. Even though Little White's memory was sealed, the past was important to him. There were some vague memories in his mind. That was why he called himself Lu Xiaobai and changed the city to the City of Mystic Armor. Was this the memory in the deepest part of his soul? Luli put on a smile after he figured it out. Little White was still Little White and he was still his best brother. Luli looked around and said calmly, "When I visited the City of Mystic Armor, I said that Little White and I were old friends. Many of you should know this. Now you can prove it, right? I don't have any bad intentions. I just want to see if I can save him. Instead of finding a way out, you surround me. What is the meaning of this? Time is precious. If Little White dies because of you, the King of the East will be furious. How many heads do you have?" The few powerful warriors around Lu Li looked at each other. They didn't dare to do anything rash. Lu Xiaobai's attitude towards Lu Li was enough to deter them from doing anything rash. Otherwise, after Lu Xiaobai was rescued and learned about this, they would be in serious trouble. Third Master. Chapter 34:15. The group of powerful warriors looked at Lord Yu, waiting for his order. Lord Yu waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about him. Let's go on." Several powerful warriors stepped back. Their attitude toward Lu Li changed a bit. At least Lu Li and Lu Xiaobai were friends, which was enough. If nothing went wrong, Lu Xiaobai would become the king of the eastern region in the future. Who dared to offend the friend of the king of the eastern region? They couldn't wait to suck up to him. Lu Li didn't mind the group of powerful warriors. He looked at the high platform and walked over slowly. When he reached the bottom of the platform, he closed his eyes to sense. First of all, he felt like the sky was pressing down on him. The pressure came from the tripod. Lu Li used the trace of Tao to sense the tripod. He sensed the same energy as the traceless saber. Clearly, the tripod was a treasure of a warrior at the consummate level. The tripod contained the laws, fundamental principles and Taos of a warrior at the consummate level. Lu Xiaobai and the 8 powerful warriors on the platform were all close to the consummate level. A treasure that could suppress them must be a relic weapon of the consummate level. As a matter of fact, it was not the relic weapon that was suppressing them, but the laws and Taos of the consummate level. No wonder the group of powerful warriors can't do anything. Lu Li sighed. It was tricky. It was impossible to destroy the supreme relic weapon of a warrior at the consummate level. It was possible that the group of powerful warriors couldn't move the tripod even a bit. Otherwise, once the tripod moved, Lu Xiaobai and the others would be saved. Lu Li thought for a while and asked, "You have attacked the tripod. Is there any effect?" "We don't dare to," a powerful warrior said with a bitter smile. "Once we attack the tripod, the suppression will be stronger. Young Master and the others will suffer more. Have you tried to go up?" Lu Li asked. "Go up and take Little White away?" "No," the powerful warrior shook his head and said, "We have all tried. Only some warriors can go up. Also, there is nothing we can do. The pressure is too great. We can't even move. How can we save young Master?" "I will try." Lu Li thought for a while and decided to give it a try. Little White was in a bad situation. He could not let it go any longer. Whether it would work or not, he had to try. There were only 2 ways to save Whitey. One was to move the cauldron away, the other was to take Whitey away. So many experts couldn't move the cauldron away, so he definitely couldn't either. Therefore, he could only think of a way to take Little White away. He had the traceless Tao, and his body was almost like a shadow. Perhaps he could resist the pressure from the cauldron? As long as they could withstand it, it would be easy to take Whitey away. When Lu Li said he would give it a try, some powerful warriors' eyes glowed, but more sneered. All of their experts had gone up to try, but they couldn't withstand the pressure and couldn't move at all. What could Lu Li, a warrior at the later stage of the Emperor realm, do? No, could he go up? None of the warriors suspected that Lu Li was going to murder Lu Xiaobai. Judging from Lu Xiaobai's attitude, Lu Li was his good friend, so Lu Li would not harm him. Lu Li came all the way from the Mystic Armor City just to hurt Lu Xiaobai? That didn't make sense. Besides, Lu Li wouldn't dare to mess around with the son of the king of the eastern region. Therefore, none of the powerful warriors said anything about Lu Li going up. Not even Lord Yu said anything. It would be good if Lu Li could save Little White. Lord Yu was not only Lu Xiaobai's caretaker, but he also loved Little White from the bottom of his heart. This high platform was conical in shape, and there were steps of stone stairs. It was more like a pyramid without a spire. There were 9 stairs in total. Lu Li stepped onto the first one directly. Crack! As soon as Lu Li set foot on the first one, he felt like he was being pressed down by a mountain. He bent his back and his bones were making cracking sounds. He almost fell to the ground. The gravity here is freaky. Lu Li took a deep breath and continued to walk up. Soon, he was standing on the second stone stair. He was trembling and he felt he could not stand still. He paused for a moment before he moved on. He made it to the third one, but he couldn't stand anymore. He made up his mind to release the dragon manipulation skill and the dragon transformation. His robe was torn apart. Silver scales grew out from his body. He grew a dragon tail, wings, and horns. He became a dragon warrior. The warriors around were surprised but didn't mind. Lu Li was a dragon warrior, but he was not strong enough. As far as they were concerned, they could easily kill Lu Li. After the transformation, Lu Li's strength was increased. He walked up and climbed up 2 stairs in one go. It became more difficult to go up further. Lu Li made up his mind and kept going. When he reached the 7th step, it became more difficult for him. 8 at most? One of the experts below murmured. Many of them had only climbed up to the 8th step, and some had climbed up to the 9th step. Therefore, they didn't want Lu Li to go that high. It would be humiliating for them. Lu Li, an Emperor Realm warrior, could go up to the 8th or 9th. They were warriors that were close to the completion. How could they compare to an Emperor Realm warrior? Wouldn't that be humiliating? Lu Li also felt that the 8th step might be his limit. This time, he climbed up directly. He climbed to the 8th step on his hands and feet. He felt he couldn't move anymore. It was impossible for him to climb to the 9th step with his physical strength. Ha ha! That's what I said. Reaching level 8 is already the limit. That's not bad. He has a strong physical body. Otherwise, he can't go to the 8th step. He wants to go up and save our young master. Ridiculous. There were some discussions and some mocking voices, as if they were mocking Lu Li for overestimating his capabilities. But as soon as they said that, all the powerful warriors were stunned. Lu Li disappeared. Lu Li gave off a white glare and then disappeared from the stairs. No matter how hard the powerful warriors tried, they could not find him. Even Lord Yu was shocked. He was only an Emperor Realm warrior. No matter how good he was at hiding, he couldn't disappear under the nose of so many powerful warriors. Only the powerful warrior with the goat-like face was not surprised. Lu Li had shown his amazing skills before. Lord Yu regained his composure soon. He had sent a powerful warrior to track Lu Li, but that warrior failed. It seemed that Lu Li was really good at hiding. Look! All of a sudden, a powerful warrior shouted in shock. The others looked over. Lu Li suddenly showed up on the platform. Without anyone noticing, Lu Li had climbed to the platform from the 8th stair without anyone noticing. Maybe our young master can be saved? Many powerful warriors' eyes glowed. Lu Li could get to the platform so easily. Maybe he could move on the platform. If he could move, then Little White could be saved. Third Master. Chapter 34:16. It was not as easy as the warriors thought. Lu Li released the Traceless Way and went up easily. However, he had revealed himself. The reason why he had revealed himself was because he had been suppressed. If it wasn't for the fact that he was being suppressed, how could his figure be revealed? He was immobilized. Although he did not feel that the pressure was particularly terrifying, he still felt an indescribable pressure that suppressed his body and made him unable to move. Of course, he was confident that he could fight back and fall down. In that case, all his previous efforts would be in vain. That was not a big deal. What was more important was that he could not save Little White. Little White was in a serious situation. Maybe it was because he was already injured. Now, he was in the most serious condition. His chi and energy were weak, as if he could die at any moment. Take it easy. Luli sat with his legs crossed. He used the trace of Tao to sense and find a way out. The first thing he focused on was the tripod. If he could take control of the tripod, then everything would be fine. The thing was, the tripod was floating in midair. How could he take control of it? He tried to sense carefully. Time flew by. Soon, half a day had passed. The dozens of warriors were waiting anxiously. Luli had been sitting still. They had tried to come up with something but nothing worked. Now, they could only pin their hopes on the king of the eastern region. They had transmitted the situation to the king of the eastern region, hoping that he could give them some advice. The king of the eastern region was one of the most powerful supreme warriors in the world. They had high hopes for Luli. Now that Luli didn't move, they realized that they had been expecting too much. Luli was only at the later stage of the Emperor realm. So many of them couldn't do anything. What could Luli do? Luli had been studying the tripod, hoping that he could learn the principles contained in the tripod in a short time. As long as he could withstand the pressure of the tripod and move forward, not to mention taking control of the tripod. He seemed to be too full of himself. How could he learn the principles in the tripod in such a short time? Not even a warrior at the absolute completion could do that. Soon, another half a day passed. Little White's chi and energy were getting weaker. The warriors were panicking. It seemed that Little White would be finished in a day or two at most. Of course, if Little White's body was destroyed, it didn't mean that it would die completely. Its soul could come out. At that time, it would not be difficult for the king of the eastern region to reconstruct a powerful body for him. If that was the case, it would be difficult for Little White to reach the great perfection stage in this lifetime. On top of that, Whitey was a super strong race. The race of Whitey had a very terrifying innate mystic art. It was because of this powerful mystic art that the king of the eastern region could look down on everyone else. Since Whitey's body was destroyed, the super mystic ability was gone. Even if Whitey rebuilt its body, it wouldn't be very strong in this lifetime. Buzz, at this moment, a jade talisman in Lord Yu's hand lit up. He glanced at it and shouted, "The Realm King has sent a message." The group of experts became spirited. Since the king of the eastern region sent a message, there must be a way. The group of experts stared at Lord Yu, and one of them asked, "What did the king of the eastern region say?" "It's not that there isn't a way." Lord Yu sensed for a moment and said with a wry smile, "The Domain King said that he can destroy this pocket world and rush into the distorted space to rescue the young lord. But he doesn't have much confidence. At most, he has a 50% chance of rescuing the young lord. He said this is the last way. He can't see the situation and can't give any instructions. He wants us to retreat at the last moment, and then he will destroy the pocket world." The experts were silent. The king of the eastern region had no other way. If the pocket world was destroyed, the horrifying power of the distorted space would tear everything in it into pieces. The platform would collapse instantly, and the cauldron wouldn't be able to suppress Lu Xiaobai. He rushed in immediately and found Lu Xiaobai. If Lu Xiaobai wasn't dead, he could protect him. "Let's wait for another half a day." Lord Yu sighed and said, "Everyone, try your best. If we can't find a way after half a day, We will all retreat and let the Domain King destroy this pocket world. The experts were silent and began to think. Some of them began to use all kinds of methods, trying to solve this crisis. However, it was easier said than done to resolve this crisis. If it were easy, it would have been solved long ago. Half a day passed quickly. The experts had actually given up. They just wanted to wait for half a day and leave. Then, they would see if the Domain King could rescue Lu Xiaobai from the distorted space. I can't understand it. Lu Li opened his eyes at this moment, feeling helpless. Time was too short, and this Tao was not something that could be comprehended just because one wanted to. If the Tao contained in the supreme divine weapon of a warrior at the absolute completion could be learned so easily, then it wouldn't be a warrior at the absolute completion. He still had a relic weapon of a warrior at the absolute completion in his interspatial ring, but he couldn't refine it either. No. Lu Li suddenly thought of something. He had a saber, a supreme divine weapon of a warrior at the absolute completion. This relic weapon contained the Tao of a warrior at the absolute completion. His relic weapon was of the same level as this cauldron. Did that mean he could use the relic weapon to fight against this cauldron? He didn't need to refine this relic weapon, nor did he need to fight against this cauldron. He just needed to be able to withstand some pressure. Let's see. Lu Li had an idea. Then, the ring on his hand glowed and a black saber appeared in his hand. As soon as the saber appeared, it trembled slightly and let out a soft hum. Buzzing, Lu Li didn't do anything. The saber lit up automatically, emitting rays of light. A horrifying qi and energy came from the saber and spread to the surroundings. All of the powerful beings below were startled as their eyes lit up with a bright gleam, just like a bunch of hungry wolves that had just spotted a lamb. Supreme divine weapon! An expert exclaimed. His face was filled with envy and jealousy, and his eyes were filled with naked greed. Supreme divine weapons were different from imperial weapons and sacred weapons. Many emperors, saint emperors and warriors who were infinitely close to the absolute completion would refine many relic weapons. However, warriors at the absolute completion usually only used one relic weapon. Many of them didn't even use relic weapons at all. Therefore, supreme divine weapons were very rare. None of the powerful warriors here, including Lord Yu, had a supreme divine weapon. It was evident how precious supreme divine weapons were. A warrior at the later stage of the Emperor realm had a supreme divine weapon. It was inevitable that they would be jealous. Look, he disappeared again. Another powerful warrior shouted in surprise. The powerful warriors looked away from the relic weapon and found that Lu Li had disappeared. Only a supreme divine weapon was left floating in the air. Then, amidst the stunned gazes of the powerful warriors, the relic weapon moved slowly toward the center of the platform. Lu Li's guess was right. When the supreme divine weapon met the supreme divine weapon, the traceless saber was activated automatically and withstood some of the pressure. Lu Li released the traceless way. Finally, he could move. "Little White, here I come." Lu Li put on a gentle smile and murmured, "I will get you out of here and take you home." Third Master. Chapter 34:17. Lu Li walked to the center of the platform. There was a powerful warrior who was very close to the completion of the relic realm here. He was not in a coma. He was lying on the ground in a very ungraceful way. He was squinting at the relic weapon that was approaching him. His eyes were filled with joy. However, Lu Li walked past him but did not save him. The saber floated to the center of the platform and eventually reached Little White. Lu Li squatted down, picked up Little White with one hand and put it into his interspatial artifact. After Whitey disappeared, all the experts on the high platform felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Their faces were filled with joy. The master of the eastern region could destroy the small world, and he had a 50% chance of saving Little White. That being said, there was still a 50% chance that Little White would die. After Luli put away Little White, he noticed the other powerful warriors. He walked over to them one by one and put them all into his interspatial artifact. Then, he slowly walked away from the platform. Buzzing, right at that moment, the tripod suddenly began to shake violently. It was glaring. Luli felt another strong force pressing down on him. He was exposed again. This time, he could not stand it any longer. He fell to the ground. How? The crowd was in an uproar. Why did the tripod suddenly go crazy? If Luli were to die, then his interspatial artifact might explode. Lu Xiaobai and the others would still be strangled to death by the twisting force of space. The relic weapon has a spirit. Is the tripod not convinced that I saved all the warriors? An idea flashed across Luli's mind and he felt a headache coming on. He felt his bones were creaking because of the suppression. He was in the dragon transformation mode. He could not keep it up forever. Sooner or later, he would be weakened. At that time, once this state was removed, he would probably be suppressed to death. Calm down. Holding the relic weapon high, Luli closed his eyes and began to think. Soon, he had an idea. He could go into the realm of magic. As long as he was in the realm of magic, the tripod would not be able to contain him. Once it lost its target, the tripod might fly away. By then, Luli could be free. Okay. Luli was overjoyed. He wanted to go into the realm of Dharma. However, the tripod seemed to have sensed something. It began to tremble violently. The glow grew brighter and the haze from the tripod grew thicker. Luli was enveloped in it. God damn it! Luli realized that he could not enter the magic realm. As the fog grew thicker, the gravitational force on him grew stronger. He was immediately enraged. This cauldron was truly lawless and out of control. It actually dared to challenge him. Mist? He looked at the surrounding mist and steeled his heart. He actually activated the Dharma realm's vortex to see if he could absorb the mist. Without the mist, how could this cauldron suppress him? It works. All of a sudden, Luli noticed that the haze was rushing into his body at a fast speed. The haze around him was weakened and the pressure on Luli was relieved. The cauldron glowed again. More haze fell down and surged toward Luli. This cauldron looked like a child who was full of battle spirit. If it was not satisfied, it would definitely suppress Luli. The powerful warriors outside were dumbfounded. Luli had absorbed the mist? They did not know what the mist was. But if it could suppress Little White and the 8 warriors who were almost at the consummate realm, then it must be something powerful. How could Luli absorb it? The warriors on the ground were nervous as they watched Luli fight with the cauldron. Some warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm felt their palms were sweating. At this moment, they wished Luli could show his prowess and smash the cauldron. Let me absorb, let me absorb, let me absorb. Luli operated the vortex in the magic realm and absorbed as much mist as he could. Looking at the cauldron above his head, Luli put on a sarcastic smile. The cauldron was a supreme divine weapon. Over the years it had absorbed a lot of energy. But it could not be endless. Luli wanted to see how long the cauldron could last. The time for 1 incense stick to burn, 2 incense sticks to burn, an hour. Finally, the glow from the cauldron died down. The pressure on Luli was gone as well. Luli exhaled. He could stand the pressure and leave the high platform at any time. As long as he was alive, Little White and the others would be fine. Buzzing, when Luli was about to stand up, something happened that shocked him and the other powerful warriors. The cauldron glowed again and began to spin quickly. Then it smashed down at a horrifying speed. Damn it! Luli cursed to himself. He thought to himself that the cauldron was not playing by the rules of the game. Luli could not defeat Luli, so he was acting like a rascal. He was going to grind Luli into pieces. Magic realm. While controlling the magic realm to spin, Luli thought of something, trying to enter the magic realm. When the cauldron was about to hit him, Luli felt the pressure on him lessened. He dashed into the magic realm at once. Boom! A booming sound rang out and the high platform shook violently. At the same time, a dazzling light shone out from the high platform, as though half of a blazing sun had exploded. Terrifying air currents swept out, causing all the utmost powerful beings to be knocked back by several hundred zhang. Lord Yu and the others felt a white light flash before their eyes. When they resisted the shockwave and hurriedly went to investigate, a white light flashed before their eyes. When they hurried to check, they saw something strange. Luli had disappeared from the platform and the cauldron was gone with him. Where is the fire demon? A powerful warrior yelled. He used psychic power to check again and again. His expressions were awful as he murmured, "Is he smashed into pieces? There is no blood." Another powerful warrior blinked in doubt and said, "Even if he is smashed into pieces, there should be some smell of blood." His supreme divine weapon disappeared, and so did his cauldron. What happened? Don't panic. Lord Yu took out a jade talisman of life. He breathed and said, "Young master is still alive, so the fire demon must be alive as well. As long as there are no problems." All the powerful warriors exhaled in relief. They were surprised. It was understandable that Luli had disappeared. After all, Luli's skill of hiding was incredible. He had disappeared twice just now. Where did the cauldron go? Why did the cauldron suddenly disappear when it crashed down just now? Did it go into the platform? Did the cauldron hide because it failed? They didn't dare to move as long as Luli didn't come out. They used psychic power to check around to find Luli. Lord Yu used a special communication method to inform the king of the eastern region, who was outside. "This is strange. How come I feel that the cauldron is not in this small world anymore?" A powerful warrior murmured with uncertainty. The cauldron contained the Tao of a warrior at the complete completion and had a unique qi and energy. Now, he felt the qi and energy were gone. *T, what the hell? How can this be? Almost at the same time, someone shouted from Luli's realm of Dharma. Luli was lying in the realm of Dharma. Above his head, there was a cauldron spinning. There was still mist coming down from the cauldron, covering Luli up and immobilizing him. The cauldron followed Luli into the realm of Dharma. P.S. Let's get down to business. The Eternal Realm will finish its book this year. It had been 2 years. Towards the end, the old demon was exhausted. He was sick all over. His back was in pain. He worked through the night every day and his mental state was poor. Recently, the number of subscriptions was declining. The old demon was running out of food. He didn't have any motivation to write anymore. Many times, he wanted to finish the book unfinished. Therefore, please download the official QQ reading version and pay for it. It didn't cost him much to read the book every month. This would give the old demon some motivation to continue writing. Please, it's daybreak again. Good morning, everyone. The old demon is going to bed. Third Master. Chapter 34:18. A supreme weapon, a tripod that could immobilize 10 warriors that were infinitely close to the consummate realm and almost killed them. Luli was both shocked and confused to be in Luli's Dharma realm all of a sudden. A moment later, he was overjoyed. He didn't believe that the tripod could suppress him in the Dharma realm. Therefore, he had accidentally acquired another supreme weapon? It seemed that the Tao in the tripod was not easy to learn. But where else could the tripod go in the Dharma realm? It would be his sooner or later. Get out! He vanished from the Dharma realm. The tripod could no longer locate him. The glow from the tripod dimmed down and the mist was taken back as well. The tripod floated above the Dharma realm. Ha ha! Standing on the dais, Luli laughed to himself. He was feeling great. The powerful warriors outside were overjoyed to see Luli coming out. Lord, you asked in a hurry, Fire Demon, how is it going? Whoosh. Luli didn't answer. He landed lightly. His interspatial artifact glowed as he let out Little White and the others. Young Master. A group of powerful warriors went over and began to treat Lu Xiaobai and the others. Luli saw a powerful warrior put some elixirs that were at least tens of thousands of years old into Little White's mouth. What a spendthrift! Elixirs should be consumed so that they would not be wasted. How wasteful would it be to stuff elixirs that were tens of thousands of years old into Little White's mouth? But this was not his elixir. The powerful warriors had plenty of elixirs, so Luli didn't bother to explain. As for the other powerful warriors, some were badly injured and some were not. Almost all of them had woken up. As a matter of fact, they had begun to treat their wounds in the interspatial artifact. Little White had taken some elixirs and pellets as well. His wounds were recovering quickly. I will show young Master out now. Sorry for the long wait. Lord, you put Little White into the interspatial artifact. Little White was recovering. In a day or two, Little White would be able to jump around. It was no longer a hindrance. With that said, Lord, you rushed down with more than a dozen powerful warriors. He didn't say anything to Luli, not even to thank him. Luli curled his lips but didn't mind it too much. The King of the East didn't want Little White to mix with the previous chickens. He could understand his feelings. Lord, you must have rushed out with Little White to report to the King of the Eastern region and see what his attitude would be. Luli didn't care. If the King of the Eastern region didn't want Little White to be friends with him, then he would leave quietly and go directly to the southern region to find Luan Shi and Mo Qianqian at the Palace of Immortals Inquiries. He wasn't a person who would try to curry favor with someone powerful. He wouldn't try to curry favor with Little White just because her father was the king of the Eastern region. He came to the immortal realm mainly to determine if Lu Xiaobai was Little White and then to determine if Little White was doing well. It was clear that Whitey was living a very comfortable life. His future development would be boundless, and he might even become a peak-level existence in the immortal realm. For this, he was very happy. He was truly happy for Little White. Nothing else mattered. Of course, if Xiaobai could reunite with him, he would naturally be happier. After all, in his heart, Xiaobai was no different from his younger brother. While some of the utmost powerful beings had left, there were still some who stayed behind. There were also some who were severely injured and required treatment. A powerful warrior walked over and thanked Luli on behalf of Lu Xiaobai and the injured warriors. He also asked Luli to wait for a while. When these powerful warriors recovered, all of them would leave and they would solemnly reward Luli. Luli didn't care about this. He just sat on the side, not worried that these powerful warriors would do anything to him. Based on Little White's attitude towards him and the fact that he saved Little White's life, if these powerful warriors dared to do anything to him, the king of the Eastern region would definitely wipe out their entire families. Some of these powerful warriors coveted Luli's treasure, and some were curious about where the tripod went. Luli sat on the side in meditation, so they didn't ask too many questions. They had mocked and ridiculed Luli before, so now they were too embarrassed to take the initiative to talk to him. Soon, a day and a half had passed. The powerful warriors recovered quickly. They all consumed top-level pellets, and their injuries were more than half healed. They all stood up and walked towards the outside. Most of the dangers at the checkpoint had been eliminated, so it was a smooth trip for them. In half a day, all the powerful warriors had left the palace. More than half of the warriors outside had left, but there were still some warriors guarding here. There were several powerful warriors outside. As soon as they saw Luli, one of them went to greet him. He bowed to Luli with respect and said, "Lord Fire Demon, I am Sangyu. King of Realm has asked me to welcome you here." He said that you have gone out and he will take you to the Star Brilliant City nearby. King of Realm has already taken young master and the others to the Star Brilliant City. Okay. Luli smiled. He waved his hand and said, "Show me the way." Buzzing, Sangyu took out a battleship, a very advanced one. Sangyu took Luli on board and the other powerful warriors followed him. The battleship glowed and then flew to the south. Luli was invited to the VIP cabin. Sangyu was very polite. Luli was treated with courtesy and Sangyu would not go against a smiling face. So, they chatted for a while. This place was not far from the Star Brilliant City. In less than half a day, a huge city appeared. This was one of the major cities at the northern eastern region, similar to the Cloud King City. It was one of the major cities to defend against the northern region. At the Star Brilliant City, Sangyu took Luli to live in a manor. It was a top-level manor with splendid furnishings. There were all kinds of things that Luli had seen and not seen before. There were more than 100 maids just to serve Luli alone. Sangyu chatted with Luli for a while politely. Then, he told Luli to settle down and to tell the steward if he needed anything. Sangyu didn't say when the king of the eastern region would meet him. He left Luli alone. Luli was not in a hurry. He didn't even use psychic power. He just stayed here in peace. He ate the best fruits, drank the best tea, and cultivated the traceless Tao in his sleep. Soon, 5 days had passed. None of the most powerful warriors came. Little White didn't come either. Luli seemed to have been forgotten. Luli, on the other hand, sensed more and more powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm were coming and leaving. But no one came to Luli's place. Luli acted as if nothing had happened. Inside, he was disappointed. He thought about it and decided to wait for another 10 days. If Little White didn't come by, then he would leave. If the king of the eastern region didn't allow Little White to be friends with Luli, then Little White's memory in the tomb might be sealed. Luli didn't want to stay here shamelessly. He didn't lack food, clothes, elixirs for cultivation, or treasures. He didn't have any enemies in the immortal region. He wouldn't benefit much from being close to the king of the eastern region. Why would he stay here? After another 8 days, Luli suddenly heard some noise outside. He frowned and checked with psychic power. What he saw was a young man in embroidered clothes walking in like a gust of wind. Several maids were chasing after him, trying to stop him. Luli's psychic power locked onto the young man in embroidered clothes. He was shocked. He put down the teacup, stood up, and stared at the door. Soon, the young man in embroidered clothes was standing at the door. When he saw Luli, his eyes lit up. His face was flushed, and his body was trembling. The two stared at each other for 5 breaths. Then, the young man in embroidered clothes said with a choked voice, "Boss, is that you?" "I am. Little White." Luli curled his lips and revealed a bright smile. He nodded slightly and said, "Little White, I finally found you." Chapter 34:19. Whoosh! Little White rushed to Luli and hugged him tightly. It said in a sobbing tone, "Big brother, big brother, big brother." Little White didn't know what to say. It just hugged Luli and kept growling, as if it was venting its emotions. Luli felt like crying. He held Little White in his arms. He felt this trip to the immortal region was worth it even though they had gone through so many dangers. After the time for more than 10 breaths, they finally separated. Luli looked at Little White carefully and found that it looked exactly like a human. It looked like a handsome young master. Furthermore, he vaguely resembled him when he was young, but he was more handsome and had a lively temperament. He was like an energetic, eccentric, and carefree young master. "Good, good." Luli grinned and said, "I have been wondering what Little White would be like after it transforms. Now it is just like what I imagined. Very handsome, ha ha ha. Ha ha." Little White smiled proudly and said, "Of course. Big brother, you are so handsome. As your follower, I cannot be worse than you. Big brother, I will be honest with you. Many young ladies at the eastern region have tried to hit on me, but I don't like them. They are all transformed from some beast. No matter how beautiful they look now, they are still beasts when they transform back. This young master is so handsome and suave, how could I take a fancy to those demons? Luli was surprised and then smiled. Little White was an immortal beast itself. How could it look down on other immortal beasts? Even though Luli had never talked to Little White after it transformed, he felt it was familiar and close to Little White even though he had never talked to it before. This was Little White, just like Little White in Luli's mind. Big brother, big brother! Little White pulled Luli to sit down and then said with guilt, "My father sealed my memory. I have forgotten the past, so I have never gone to see you. Big brother, you don't blame me, do you?" "I see." Luli smiled. He patted Little White's head out of instinct, just like he did when he touched Little White's body. And Little White actually closed its eyes subconsciously, looking very comfortable. Luli burst into laughter. Little White had transformed and was an adult now. To touch it as if it was a child was not respectful enough. He said, "It's not your fault, boss." "Boss? Why would I blame you? Today, you and I are able to meet each other. I feel that it is a gift from the heavens. I am very gratified that you still recognize me as your boss." "How could I not recognize you, boss?" Lil White jumped up and said, "Boss, you are my master. Without you, Lil White would have died long ago." "Don't speak nonsense." Luli glared at him and said, "In my heart, you have always been my brother." "What master? If you mention it again, I'll be angry." Good little brother. Boss, you're so good to me." Little White said with a grin. Then it looked at Luli carefully and asked with confusion, "Boss, you are at the Emperor realm. I heard that you are a famous fire demon. It's said that he killed a powerhouse who was infinitely close to the great perfection?" "Yes, I killed one." Luli nodded and said, "I have the chance to kill warriors that are infinitely close to the consummate realm. I am at the later stage of the Emperor realm and I have other means." "Impressive. No wonder you're my boss." Little White gave Luli a thumbs up and said with pride, "I know my boss is something." When we parted, you were still in the divinity, right? You came to the immortal region and you have improved so fast. I admire you." "What is there to admire?" Luli said with a gentle smile. "Little White is the impressive one. You are infinitely close to the consummate realm. You are much more powerful than you, boss." "That is different." Little White was not arrogant. Instead, he said seriously, "I am a super immortal beast because of my father. I was sealed, so my progress was slow. After my father brought me back, I was given all kinds of treasures. Of course, I have been growing fast. Boss, you are different. You don't have anyone to help you. You are much more powerful than I am." "Let's not talk about this." Luli waved his hand and asked, "When you went missing in the divinity, was it the Lord of the East who brought you back? I have been looking for you for years." "Well, you were sealed? How did you end up in the Heaven Reverse universe? Did your father send you down to the mortal world to experience life?" "No." Little White shook his head. He poured out some source energy to activate the runes in the hall. Then, he said, "It was not my father but my mother. My mother was being hunted down. A big family wanted to take my mother hostage to threaten my father. She had no choice but to escape to the third plane. Because of her serious injuries, she had to give birth early. I was less than a month old, so I was born weak. My mother was afraid that something might happen to me with her, so she threw me into a mortal world. She sealed my source of energy for fear that I would be exposed. My father will find me sooner or later. I will be fine as long as I am not exposed." "I see." Luli understood. He asked with a frown, "What about your mother? She is dead." Little White was in low spirit. He sighed, she was already injured. She was even more weakened after giving birth to me. She was killed by her enemies. But my father avenged her. Several big families were wiped out by my father. None of them escaped. Alas! Luli sighed. He felt like they were in the same boat. He said, "Little White, we really are brothers. My mother died when I was born as well. Come to think of it, it's fate. Otherwise, how could we have met?" "That is true." Xiao Bai sighed and said, "Maybe this is fate. God has already decided it. Let's not talk about this." Soon, Little White recovered from his sadness. His eyes were glowing. "Boss, where are my sisters-in-law? Where are they? What happened to you in the divinity? How did you come to the immortal region?" It is a long story. Luli gave it a brief account of what happened later. He talked about fighting against demons in the divinity, stirring up a storm in the second heaven, the third heaven, the abyss of demons, the desolation star region, the chaos star region, and finally the immortal region. Luli finished after more than 2 hours. Little White had been listening attentively the whole time. When Little White heard that Luli was in danger, he would be nervous. But when he learned that Luli had killed his enemies, he was delighted. "Boss, you are the boss." Little White gave Luli a thumbs up and said with admiration, "Boss, you are amazing. You came from the mortal world, looked down upon the divinity, dominated the second heaven, reached the third heaven, stirred up chaos in the desolation star region, and established a foothold in the chaos star region. If it were me, I would have lost 10 lives. Well, boss, let's go, let's go." With that said, Little White was about to drag Luli out. Luli was surprised. He asked, "Where are we going?" "To the Chaos Star region." Little White said, "Bring my wife and the Lu family here. Bring them all to the City of Mystic Armor. From now on, the City of Mystic Armor will be your home. If anyone dares to mess with you, I will lead an army and kill them all." Chapter 34:20. Luli was touched by Little White's aggressiveness. But he stopped, waved his hand and said, "Don't rush. Sit down first." Little White was obedient to Luli. Luli sat down and sipped his tea. After a while, he said, "The Lu family and your master's wife are living well in the chaotic star regions. They won't come to the celestial region for the time being. The immortal domain is too chaotic and too powerful. It's not suitable for the Lu clan to develop." Luli said this to take care of Little White's pride. He never intended to rely on the King of the East. Given his relationship with Little White, it wouldn't be a big deal for him to bring the Lu family to the Mystic Armor City, and Little White would provide many resources for the Lu family to develop. But Luli didn't like to depend on others' charity. The King of the East sealed Little White's soul, which was equivalent to looking down on Luli. He saved Little White this time, but the King of the Eastern region didn't even see him, let alone thank him. This aroused the pride in Luli's heart. Naturally, he didn't want to live under the King of the Eastern region. The Lu family was weak, extremely weak. For a clan from the mortal world, it would be considered good if they could survive in the god world. However, because of Luli, he had to spoil things time and time again. The warriors of the Lu family were weak, and the Lu family's foundation was weak. They had not adapted to the divinity yet. Luli took them to the second heaven and then to the third heaven. In the end, they settled in the chaotic star region. The celestial realm was 100 times more dangerous than the heavenly chaotic starfield. Why would the Lu family come here? This place was filled with saint emperors. Were the Lu clan's cultivators here to guard the door? Many of the warriors in the Lu clan were not very talented. Even if they were given more resources, they would not be able to improve much in this lifetime. The Lu family was doing well in the Grim Reaper. Most importantly, the Grim Reaper's environment allowed the Lu family to improve. Most of the warriors in the Lu Alliance had become Grim Reapers. As long as they were able to survive, their battle prowess would increase rapidly. Right now, the Lu clan had sufficient resources and they couldn't even finish using them. So, why did they come to the Immortal region? It was impossible for a big family to grow by relying on 1 or 2 generations. The bloodline of the Lu Union's descendants was not high. The Lu Alliance needed to continuously form marriages, produce good genes, and nurture them with large amounts of resources. After a few generations, the Lu Alliance would be able to produce a large number of experts. At that time, the Lu Alliance could be considered to have barely risen. The disciples of the Lu Alliance probably enjoyed staying in the Grim Reaper. Even if they were asked to come, they wouldn't be willing. Therefore, Luli refused Little White without hesitation. Little White, on the other hand, was getting impatient. If Lu Meng was not coming, then Luli would not stay here for long. Luli would have to go back to the Lu family. In that case, Little White would have to part with Luli again. He quickly said, "Boss, the celestial realm is chaotic, but the city of mystic armor is not. It is good that the celestial realm is strong. With pressure comes motivation. You don't have to worry about the Lu family's development. The entire eastern region can be considered as my family with unlimited resources. I'll give you however much you want. In the eastern region, no one dares to bully the Lu family. Whoever dares to bully a disciple of the Lu family, I will chop him down." Ah! Luli laughed. He was touched. Little White really regarded him as his own big brother. It was worthwhile for him to come to the celestial realm to find him. Luli smiled and said, "Little White, there are many things you don't know yet. The Lu family is too weak. Coming here will only hurt them. Don't worry. There is still time. Your boss is only more than 1,000 years old. Don't worry. When the time is right, I will bring them here. Don't mention this." Okay. Seeing that Luli had made up his mind, Lu Xiaobai didn't say anything else. He rolled his eyes and said, "Boss, if you have nothing to do, stay in the city of mystic armor and play with me. I need to go to the northern region. If I don't get back at them, I am not Lu Xiaobai." Go to the northern region? Luli frowned. Remembering the rumor, he asked, "You are going to make trouble for Bio?" "I am going to kill him," Lu Xiaobai said with a murderous look. "I was almost killed by him. If it weren't for you, I would have a 50% chance of dying this time. My father only had a 50% chance of saving me. Bio broke the rules, so I am going to the northern region to kill him." Luli pursed his lips and asked after a moment of silence, "Your father is going with you?" "No." Lu Xiaobai clenched his fists and said, "I have lost face and I will get it back in person. Bio broke the rules this time and my father has sent word. Therefore, the warriors at the northern region at the complete realm will not make trouble for me. I will bring a group of powerful warriors that are close to the complete realm. I swear I will not come back until I kill him." Luli was surprised and asked, "Your father agrees?" "Yes." Lu Xiaobai nodded and said, "My father agrees. He said that the son of the king of the eastern region must have such drive. Back in the days, he carried his saber and ran amok in the immortal region. Half of the immortal region was bathed in blood. We, the heaven-swallowing beast race, cannot be looked down upon by other races. We must get back at them." Heaven-swallowing beast? This was the first time Luli had heard of it. He didn't ask more. He just said with a smile, "That is an impressive name. Since your father is okay with it, then I won't say more. Boss, will you go to the northern region with me?" Lu Xiaobai asked with anticipation. "I miss the time when we fought side by side." Don't worry, boss. This time, the northern region is in the wrong, so there aren't too many powerhouses helping Bio. The king of the northern region has already spoken to Dad. He won't give Bio any support, but whether or not I can kill Bio will depend on my ability." Luli said nothing. Of course, he wanted to go with Little White to the northern region. After all, it was dangerous to go deep into the enemy's territory. With him around, if something went wrong, at least he could run away with Little White, right? It was just that he had been away for a long time. He didn't know how Mo Qianqian, Luan Shi, Yu Yang and the others were doing. He was worried. He didn't have much feelings for Mo Qianqian and Luan Shi, but they were his women. He couldn't leave them alone. Looking at Little White's expectant eyes, Luli didn't have the heart to turn him down. After some thoughts he said, "I can go with you, but you have to do something for me. I have some friends at the southern region. Can you arrange for them to come over? Will it be difficult?" "Friends?" Little White was surprised and asked, "Do I know them?" "No." Luli shook his head and said, "I made friends in the chaotic star region. 2 of them are my women." "Ha ha ha!" Little White laughed and said, "Big brother, you are still as promiscuous as before. You have so many lovers. This is not a big deal. I will make the arrangements and I will bring them over safely. Never mind. I will teleport you over. We will finish your business first, and then we will go to the northern region so that you don't have to worry. What do you think?" Teleport? Luli was surprised. Mo Qianqian and Luan Shi lived in a small city at the southernmost part of the southern region. How could they teleport over such a long distance? What was more, teleporting to the eastern region didn't cost celestial stones. Teleporting to the southern region would cost celestial stones. Little White wouldn't go alone. How many celestial stones would it cost to teleport with a group of powerful warriors? What was more, the southern region and the eastern region were hostile to each other. Would Little White be okay if he went like this? Luli voiced out his concerns. Little White said unhappily, "What celestial stones? I am doing them a favor by going to the southern region. How dare they take my celestial stones? We can teleport directly from the East King City to the South King City and then to the East Spirit City. It won't take long to go there and back. As for safety? The king of the southern region will not dare to touch me even if he has 100 guts. Back in the days, the king of the southern region was almost killed by my father. Not only will he not touch me, but he will also send powerful warriors to protect me. Otherwise, if something happens to me, It is so cool to have a powerful father." Luli was speechless. It took him several years to get to the eastern region from the southern region. He had gone through so many hardships and narrowly escaped death. Why did it feel like he was going on a sightseeing tour when Lu Xiaobai went back with him? P.S. Thank you for the support of many book fans. Today, many people left comments, many people tipped, and many people subscribed. The old monster was touched and was moved to tears. No matter how hard and tired it was, the old monster would finish writing the Eternal World and do a good job. Remember to come to QQ to support the old monster. This is the starting site. As long as you paid to read here, the old monster could get the royalties. Bow to everyone. Chapter 34:21. The king of the eastern region left without seeing Luli. There was a teleportation altar at the Starlight City that could teleport to the East King City. Luli was expressionless when he heard the news, but he was still a bit upset. He felt he was being looked down upon. Of course, he could understand. It was like a king whose son was left in the slums and became friends with a beggar. After the king found his son, he sealed his son's memory so that he would forget the time he spent with the beggar. Later on, the beggar grew up and became capable. He came to the capital and saved the king's son's life. If the king was a kind king or a king who cared about his reputation, he would have summoned the beggar and rewarded him handsomely. But not the king of the eastern region. His personality was tyrannical, cold, and extremely arrogant. Maybe in his mind, even if Luli was infinitely close to the level of a complete warrior, he would still be a bug? He had killed countless warriors at the complete level. He really didn't think much of Luli. But he did give Luli some top-level elixirs and treasures, and a token. On the token were the words, King of the Eastern Region. With this token, Luli could do whatever he wanted in the Eastern Region. Big brother, I apologize on behalf of my dad. The gift was brought by Little White. He said pitifully, Dad is cold and arrogant. He said he had something urgent to deal with. Little White, you don't have to do this. Luli smiled and waved his hand. You are you and he is him. It doesn't matter. We are brothers, right? The king of the Eastern region was willing to release Little White's seal and let Little White and Luli reunite. This was a compromise. Luli understood this. A king had his own pride. Maybe when he saw Luli, he would be reminded of his deceased wife and feel uncomfortable. It didn't matter if he saw Luli or not. He didn't move the Lu family to the immortal region because he didn't want to live under someone else's roof. He was also a proud man. The king of the Eastern region's attitude made him even more determined. When are we going to the southern region? Luli changed the subject. Little White quickly said, We will go back to the East King City tomorrow. I will make some arrangements. We can depart in 2 or 3 days and teleport directly to the South King City. All right. Luli secretly made up his mind. After picking up Mo Qianqian, Luan Shi, Yu Yang and the others, he would follow Little White to the northern region, then leave the eastern region and return to the chaotic starfield. The next day, Luli left the Star Brilliant City with Little White. When they left, Little White brought with it dozens of warriors that were close to the absolute completion of the Star Brilliance realm. Lord Yu followed them closely. Lord Yu's attitude towards Luli was much better. Perhaps it was because the king of the eastern region had tacitly allowed Luli to be friends with Little White. Naturally, Lord Yu didn't dare to be rude to Luli anymore. Little White was its young master and Luli was its friend. To be rude to Luli would be disrespectful to Little White. Little White probably didn't know about Luli's trip to the city of mystic armor. It even introduced the powerful warriors to Luli with enthusiasm. Those powerful warriors were the subordinates of the king of the East region. Most of them were immortal beasts. When Little White said that Luli was its boss, those powerful warriors treated Luli with respect. They must have felt awkward when they addressed Luli as Lord Lu. The group of powerful warriors teleported to the East King City. Luli also got to see the largest city in the eastern region. The scale and prosperity of the city refreshed Luli's knowledge. Luli was secretly surprised by Lu Xiaobai's status in the city and the enthusiasm of countless people for Lu Xiaobai. But it was understandable. The existence of the king of the East region kept the eastern region free from war for more than a decade. Only the eastern region could attack other regions. No other region dared to attack the eastern region. Even though the eastern region was in chaos, it was internal strife. It had something to do with the large number of immortal beasts in the eastern region. Immortal beasts were different from humans and other races. They didn't have a high level of civilization. They worshipped strength and respected the strong. They liked to fight for territory and treasures. The king of the East region didn't care. As long as it didn't violate his iron rule, he could do whatever he wanted. Little White's character was relatively good. It wasn't as violent as the king of the East region. It was a reasonable master. This was probably because of Lu Li's influence. Little White was active and had no sense of hierarchy. It often played around in the city. It didn't put on any airs and could drink with regular warriors. Naturally, the people in the city liked and respected this kind and powerful young master from the bottom of their hearts. Luli moved into Little White's residence. Even though Little White had a city of mystic armor, Little White's residence was quite grand as well. Luli checked the place with psychic power and was shocked by what he saw. There were many trees in the backyard of Little White's residence. The trees were filled with top-level fruit. It seemed that the fruits were for Little White to quench its thirst. There was a spring in the backyard and a lake filled with top-level liquid. Even the castle Little White was living in was made of special materials. Luli felt his mind would be at peace when he entered the castle. The xianqi in heaven and earth was so dense. This is what a top family should be like. Luli curled his lips. He was happy for Little White. He understood why Little White's realm was improving so fast. Little White was a beast in nature. When it reached adulthood, it would be very powerful. It had been brought back for 1,000 years, eating top-level fruits and drinking top-level liquid every day. Even the house it lived in could help it grow. How could it not be fast? Boss, you can live here. You can play and eat as much as you want. You can even tear down the mansion, Little White said with a grin. He had maids bring over dozens of plates of fruit. Pointing to the pretty maids, Little White said, "They are of a special race. It is said that they can cultivate with you. But I don't like them. Boss, you can play with whatever you like." Luli rolled his eyes. He waved his hand and said, Okay. You don't have to show off. Go and make the arrangements. Go to the southern region as soon as possible. I am worried that something might happen to them." Yes. Little White did a backflip and flew out. It said with a grin, "Boss, it will take a few days to activate the teleportation altar. Wait for me. It will be done soon. I will go now." Ha ha, Luli could not help but smile, seeing that Little White was as nimble as a monkey. Little White had been mischievous since it was little. Now it was like a child that would never grow up. But it was a good character. Little White was simple and happy. It did not have to carry a lot of pressure. Luli was not old, but he felt he was old. To the north of the East King City, there was an even more magnificent manor. In the manor there was a mountain. The mountain was covered up by a special formation. Civilians in the city could not see it. At the peak of the mountain, there was no castle or palace. There was only a cave. Lord Yu hurried into the cave. He went into a huge cave in the innermost part. At the bottom of the cave was boiling magma, and there was a blurry figure sitting cross-legged on the magma. Lord Yu dropped to one knee to the blurry figure and said, "Master, Little White is going to activate the teleportation altar to the South King City. He is going to the southern region. Let him be." The blurry figure said coldly, "As long as he doesn't go to the Kuan realm, the Origin realm and the several forbidden areas, he can do whatever he wants. Spread the word that I do not have more than a few thousand years to live. If anyone dares to hurt Little White, I will send his entire family to the 9 hells with me." Chapter 34-22. The East King City was far away from the South King City. It would take a long time even if they used the super teleportation formation. Luli felt like he had traveled for at least 7 or 8 days before he felt his feet touching the ground. Although Luli was only at the late stage of the Emperor realm, his soul was already comparable to that of a Saint Emperor. Therefore, the teleportation didn't make him dizzy. Little White and his 5 subordinates were all experts who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm. Naturally, there was no problem. Lord Yu came along. He was very famous in the Eastern region, even in the entire Immortal region. Because he had always been a subordinate of the King of the Eastern region, he represented the King of the Eastern region. Many big shots knew him. The teleportation formation was not in the plaza, but in a castle. At the moment, there was a group of warriors standing in the castle, led by a young lady in a red dress. The young lady was very beautiful. Her appearance was similar to a human's, and there was a red phoenix mark between her eyebrows. She smiled sweetly and exuded charm from her bones. Behind the young lady were 4 experts who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm. When they saw several figures appearing in the teleportation formation, they all looked towards the center and quickly locked onto the handsome and quick-witted Lu Xiaobai. Lu Xiaobai was very famous in the immortal region. Everyone knew that the king of the eastern region had an only son who was very strong and had a very active and aggressive personality. Lu Xiaobai's photo and information had long been in the hands of the higher-ups of the major clans. He was listed by many of the major clans as someone who absolutely could not be provoked. Especially not long ago, a piece of news came out from the East King Mansion, which made the entire immortal region pay more attention to Lu Xiaobai. The king of the eastern region had said that whoever dared to hurt his son, he would dare to wipe out their entire clan. The king of the eastern region's tyranny was famous throughout the immortal region. The prestige of the king of the eastern region was accumulated by the countless corpses of experts. The king of the eastern region was a late bloomer. Perhaps because he had been seriously injured in his early years, he was already very old when he reached the Great Perfection Realm. But after reaching the Great Perfection Realm, the battle power of the heaven-swallowing beast became prominent. The king of the eastern region also began the road of hegemony. With his own strength, he suppressed the entire eastern region and massacred countless major clans. More than half of the immortal region had traces of his conquest to this day. When many warriors in the immortal region talked about the things that the king of the eastern region had done, they would feel chills all over, and fear from the bottom of their hearts filled their bodies. He had a son at an old age. The king of the eastern region didn't have much longer to live, so not to mention the big clans that had no enmity with the king of the eastern region, even the big clans that had enmity with the king of the eastern region didn't dare to act recklessly. Otherwise, the king of the eastern region would sacrifice his life to annihilate this entire clan. No cultivator would be tired of living. It was just a few thousand years. If he wanted to kill Xiaobai, he would just have to wait another few thousand years. There was no need to anger the king of the eastern region, so Little White was now safe in the entire immortal region. The king of the eastern region was also very relieved to let him come to the southern region. Hee. The young lady in the red dress smiled, and her eyes were like autumn water. She bowed gracefully and said, "Yu-ji greets young Master Xiaobai, greets the lords." "Greetings, young Master Xiaobai." The four experts behind him, who were infinitely close to the paragon level, also saluted. They only saluted Whitey to express their respect for the king of the eastern region. Since they were of the same rank, they naturally wouldn't bow to Lord Yu. Lord Yu's lips moved slightly, and he sent a message to Lu Xiaobai. Lu Xiaobai casually walked out, nodded slightly, and said, "Lady Yu-ji is too polite. Everyone, don't be so polite." Yu-ji faintly smiled, nodded slightly to Luli and Lord Yu, and then said, "Welcome young Master Xiaobai and everyone to the Southern King City as guests. Yu-ji represents the Yu family to warmly welcome everyone. If there is anything you need, you can tell Yu-ji. The banquet has been prepared, and I hope young Master Xiaobai and everyone will come." Lu Xiaobai slightly frowned. The eastern region and the southern region had a war in the past, and they were considered enemies. Even though they reconciled later, the Yu family definitely didn't like him. The first young master and the first young lady of the Yu family didn't come out, so why did they send an ordinary young lady? The Yu family didn't like him, and he naturally didn't want to give them face. He waved his hand and said, "Forget about the banquet. We are not here to play, we are here for business. Lady Yu-ji, please make the arrangements. We want to go to the Eastern Spirit City." Eastern Spirit City? Yu-ji wasn't unhappy that Lu Xiaobai didn't give her face. Instead, she asked with a frown, "Young Master Xiaobai, can I ask why we are going to the Eastern Spirit City? Madame Wang over there is Yu-ji's great-aunt. If there's anything, Yu-ji can ask them for help." Yu-ji was worried that Little White would make trouble at the Eastern Spirit City. The Guis at the Eastern Spirit City had always been the staunch supporters of the Yu family. They had been connected by marriage for many generations, and their relationship was very good. Yuji's words made it clear that she hoped Lu Xiaobai wouldn't make trouble at the Eastern Spirit City. Little White waved his hand impatiently and said, "Nothing. Go and pick up some people. After that, we will go back to the Eastern region." Yuji was a bit relieved. She said with a smile, "Young Master Xiaobai, please come with me. Let's have some tea and rest for a while. The teleportation altar will be ready soon." "Let's go, boss." Little White waved to Lu Li and walked out together with him. Lord Yu and the others followed them. Yuji and the other powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm blinked and looked at each other in confusion. They had thought that Lu Li was just a nobody. After all, he was only an Emperor Realm warrior. They didn't expect that Lu Xiaobai would call him boss. Judging by his tone, he sounded respectful. Humans? Yuji and the others were even more confused. Most of the powerful warriors at the Eastern region were immortal beasts. They had never heard of a human family. Where did this human of the Emperor Realm come from? Yuji led Lu Xiaobai and the others to an attic. Yuji arranged for warriors to activate the teleportation altar. Actually, it didn't take long to prepare. Yuji just wanted to be the host so that the Eastern region wouldn't say that the Yu family was lacking in manners. Yuji was the kind of girl who knew how to socialize and was good at handling matters. It was a pity that Lu Xiaobai didn't have a good impression of her, so he didn't pay much attention to her. Lord Yu had to come out and exchange greetings. Yuji even tried to talk to Lu Li, trying to get some information about him. Lu Li just replied. Since Little White didn't like the Yu family, he didn't want to be friends with Yuji. He knew one thing clearly: the world was cruel. If you didn't have powerful abilities and status, powerful warriors wouldn't care about you. He was here today because of Little White. Therefore, it was pointless for him to be friends with Yuji. Without Little White, Yuji wouldn't even look at him. 2 hours later, a servant came to report that everything was ready. Yuji once again invited Little White to a banquet. Some top young masters and young ladies of the Yu family would be there to welcome Little White as well. Never mind. I am in a hurry. Next time. Little White was straightforward and he didn't want to socialize. Yuji forced a smile and said, "Okay, I will go to the Eastern Spirit City with you. I am familiar with the people there, so I can help if you need anything." Little White turned to Lu Li, who said with a smile, "Thank you, Lady Yuji." A group of powerful warriors walked out. Yuji only brought a powerful warrior who was close to the consummate realm. The Eastern Spirit City was full of powerful warriors. Also, Yuji didn't believe that there was nothing she couldn't do at the southern region. Stepping into the teleportation formation, Lu Li sighed. He didn't expect that he would be able to come back so soon. He had been prepared to die on the way without coming back. I wonder how Mo Qianqian, Luan Shi, Yu Yang and the others are doing. I hope nothing bad happens to them. Lu Li murmured. The teleportation altar glowed and Lu Li and the others disappeared into it. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.